Pokémon, the Shiny Pokémon Attractor. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 426. The two of them exchanged their Pokémon at the same time. At the moment the referee's voice fell, Shinji and Xiaomei exchanged Pokémon at the same time. Turtle, prepare for battle. Go, my baby. Red and white lights flashed alternately on the field. Damn. Kami. Two turtles, one green and one blue, appeared on the field. TSK. X2 unhappy sounds of tongue-tiedness appeared at the same time, from Shinji and Xiaomei. Obviously, the two people's ideas overlapped again. In the absence of an advantage in the first round, Shinji and Xiaomei both chose to send out their trump cards to control the situation. However, Xiaomei was obviously more unhappy. After all, in terms of attributes, his trump card Blastoise was slightly at a disadvantage. Tute, parasitic seeds. Shinji took the lead and commanded. Damn. Tute's heavy body shook twice, and several seeds flew out from the big tree on Tute's back, and fell in the direction of Blastoise. Blades, retract into the shell. Xiaomei also commanded decisively. It is obviously unrealistic to dodge the parasitic seeds with Blastoise's movement speed. And even if it dodges, the parasitic seeds that fall to the ground will be a hidden danger. After all, the arena is so big, and it is difficult to remember where the seeds fell in the fierce battle. Kami. Blastoise was also decisive when he heard Xiaomei's command, and directly retracted his entire body into the turtle shell. The dark green seeds fell beside Blastoise and exploded instantly, and the vines wrapped Blastoise tightly. High-speed rotation. Xiaomei commanded without hesitation when he saw the parasitic seeds explode. The Blastoise, entangled by the vines, floated up on the spot under the influence of the mysterious force, and then began to rotate. The vines that were originally tightly wrapped around the Blastoise gradually began to loosen, and were about to be broken free. Dote, hammer. Shinji also calmly commanded at the moment when the parasitic seeds exploded. As Xiaomei's old rival, Shinji certainly knew that the parasitic seeds had little effect on the Blastoise. So the more important role of the parasitic seeds was to restrict the Blastoise's movements, even for a few seconds. Damn. Emerald green energy appeared on the body of the Dote, and the energy range was the shape of a hammerhead. The solid body rushed towards the Blastoise with an unstoppable momentum. Because of the parasitic seeds on the body, the Blastoise had no ability to dodge, even when it was spinning at high speed. The Dote, who turned into a hammer, directly knocked the Blastoise out. The powerful impact made the high-speed rotating Blastoise passively become a cannonball. After smashing several rocks in a row, Blastoise stopped. Although the vines on its body had been thrown off, Blastoise also suffered a loss. Under the reaction force of the mallet, Tute also felt dizzy, but Tute, who had long been accustomed to this side effect, quickly recovered. Xiaomei seemed to be unconcerned about the defeat in the first round of the fight, and commanded very calmly, Blues, watering. Kami. Blastoise stood up, and a flowing water ring appeared beside Blastoise, making it seem like it was wearing a ring-shaped ribbon. The water ring slowly rotated around Blastoise, healing Blastoise's body. Because it was retracted into the shell, and Blastoise's own body was strong, the damage this time was not as terrible as imagined. Under the slow healing of the water ring, Blastoise's condition was not much different from Tute. The two turtles just stared at each other. Obviously, neither of the two Pokémon wanted to lose in this turtle civil war. Chapter 427. The two of them were in a state of panic. Blottus shook off the stone chips on his body, walked back to the center of the field, and hooked his claws at Tute. Tute didn't care about Blastoise's provocation. As the most stable and big brother-like existence in Shinji's team, Tute's heart on the field had long become calm, like a rock. Blottus also knew that his provocation was useless, and withdrew his claws in boredom. Tute, curse. Shinji calmly commanded after re-entering the combat state. Damn. Tute screamed, and a long spike condensed from purple energy appeared on his body. The long spike fell straight down and pierced into Tutei's body. According to the effect of the curse, non-ghost Pokémon will reduce their speed after using the curse, while improving defense and attack. After the purple energy spikes pierced into its body, Tutei Tortoise clearly felt that its movements were hindered by some invisible obstacles. However, for Tutei Tortoise's fighting style, the reduction in speed did not have a big impact, far less than the benefits brought by the improvement of defense and attack. Blue's Iron Wall. Almost at the same time, Xiaoxia also continued his command. Blastoise stretched out its claws, and a steel plate appeared in front of Blastoise out of thin air. The steel plate was directly shattered into energy particles at the moment of appearance, and fell on Blastoise's body, making Blastoise's body appear a layer of metallic color. Wooden hammer. Rocket hammer. Shinji and Xiaoxia shouted again at the same time. Tutei Tortoise's body was covered with green energy again, and it turned into a hammer and hit Blastoise. Blastoise was not to be outdone, and it pounced forward, and its body shot out like a cannonball. Tortoise and Blastoise collided directly. This time Blastoise was prepared so it was not knocked away. Tortoise, ultimate absorption. Shinji said when he saw the moment when Tortoise and Blastoise collided. Retract into the shell. Shinji found the opportunity quickly, but Xiaoxia responded even faster. Tortoise received Shinji's command and bit Blastoise without hesitation, but Blastoise retracted into its shell directly, and Tortoise's attack missed. Blastoise, freezing punch. Tortoise, leaf storm. Xiaoxia and Shinji commanded at the same time again. Blastoise accumulated power from its shell and punched Tortoise. It was originally a special move reserved for Xiaoxi, but it was a pity that Blastoise had no chance to use it when facing Xiaoxi. Now the battle with Shinji allowed Blastoise to go all out. However, Blastoise's punch with cold air was greeted by a tornado composed of leaves. Blastoise's freezing punch was directly broken by Shinji. Shinji and Xiaoxia are too familiar with each other. After all, among the 4 people, Shinji and Xiaoxia have fought the most. So I don't know how many times they have seen the attacks between the two of them. Now it depends on who can change the situation first. Turtles, earthquake. Shinji commanded. Blastoise, hold it up. Xiaoxia also decisively followed the command. Turtles stomped their front feet on the ground, and the ground began to shake violently. Blastoise heard the command without hesitation and decisively hugged Turtle's shell. Crazy plant. Shinji saw Blastoise's choice, and continued to command. The ground under Turtle's feet was broken, and the thick dark green rhizome soared into the sky, and wrapped Turtles and Blastoise. This is what we've been waiting for. Blastoise, blizzard. Xiaoxia shouted loudly. Kami. The Blastoise wrapped in dark green rhizomes roared. Snow and wind surged out of the 2 gun barrels. The crazy plant that was originally used for defense and attack became a cage for the Tutei turtle. The blizzard raged in the dark green rhizomes. As the rhizomes went down, the Tutei turtle fell to the ground and appeared in the field. The Blastoise was in a mess, but its eyes were still fixed on the Tutei turtle. After making sure that it would not suddenly stand up and resurrect, the Blastoise breathed a sigh of relief. It won this round. Chapter 428. The referee waited for 2 seconds with a serious face, and after making sure that the turtle would not stand up suddenly, and the scorpion would not fall down suddenly, the referee raised the flag in his hand, and announced the result. The turtle lost its ability to fight, and the scorpion won. The referee shouted loudly. Regarding the victory or defeat of the 2 turtles, Shinji and Xiaoxia had different expressions. Shinji frowned and his expression became very gloomy. After all, in the formal conference, the ace duel was still losing to Xiaoxia with an advantage in attributes. This will definitely cause Shinji's mentality to collapse to a certain extent, but Shinji also knows that this failure is not because the turtle is too weak, and Shinji's own mistakes in command, because he did not discover Xiaoxia's intention. Let Xiaoxia's plan succeed. Although exchanging injuries for injuries is almost a gambling method, the fact that Blastoise stood to the end proved that Xiaoxia's choice was correct. Shinji calmed down and took back Tutei. When he was at a disadvantage, he would find a way to fight back. It was not his style to complain about himself and perform poorly because of a temporary disadvantage. Thank you for your hard work, Blastoise. Come back. Xiaomei also took back his trump card without hesitation. Although he didn't say anything, the smile on his face had exposed Xiaomei's mentality at this time. It seems that the bait he specially laid was unexpectedly effective. Originally, Xiaomei expected that a close-range blizzard would at most allow Tute to be steadily suppressed by Blastoise. But Xiaomei ignored that in the environment inside the crazy plant, the power of the blizzard increased exponentially and directly blew Tute to the point of losing its combat ability. Of course, the Blastoise that ate Tute's crazy plant was not much better. Compared with Tute, it just had not lost its combat ability. However, this round of battle is not just a small duel. Xiaomei, who won the ace duel, instantly suppressed Shinji. Even if Blastoise has little combat power left, the fact that the ace can still play is a kind of oppression. What Xiaomei has to do is to stabilize and continue to expand his advantage. Sunny V, prepare for battle. Go, Moony V. Shinji and Xiaomei threw out the Pokeball at the same time and sent out their third Pokémon. However, the choice of this third Pokémon once again put Shinji in a disadvantage. Seeing the Moony V on the opposite side, Shinji frowned. He didn't believe that his thoughts were seen through by Xiaomei, and his eyes looked at Xiaomei. At this time, Xiaomei saw that Shinji sent Sunny V and unconsciously put on a mocking smile on his face. It seems that this time, not only the goddess of victory, but also the goddess of luck is on his side. Seeing Xiaomei's irritating expression, Shinji also confirmed his thoughts. Sure enough, this playboy's good luck is just a coincidence. Shinji immediately raised his Pokeball that bounced back, ready to exchange again. However, before Shinji could continue his action, Xiaomei's voice interrupted his action. Moony V, black eyes. Bray. A black eye appeared on the top of Moony V's head. The moment it was stared at by the black eye, Sunny V felt its body stiffen. Fight to the end, gloomy monster. Xiaomei said. Come on, Xiaomei, 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 Xiaomei will win. Xiaomei's girlfriend cheerleaders immediately began to cheer. After all, they traveled with Xiaomei throughout the Kanto region. Although their command ability may be weak, they have a good eye for the situation. TSK, Sunny V, meditate. Shinji commanded unhappily. If Sunny V's gem-like eyes flashed blue light, and his mind became calm, and began to meditate. Moony V, piercing sound. Xiaomei commanded. Bray. Moony V yelled loudly, and the harsh sound waves were transmitted to Sunny V, directly breaking the calm state of mind of Sunny V. The effect of Sunny V's meditation was greatly reduced. Shinji looked at Moony V seriously, thinking about how to break the situation. When Shinji saw the black one-eyed man in the air, an idea came into his mind. Chapter 429. The two sides of the battle were in chaos. In the rock field, the Moony V, who disturbed the meditation of the Sunny V, rushed directly to the Sunny V. The apparent effect of the black eye is that the opponent cannot escape or be exchanged under the gaze of the black eye, but you will only know it when you are really stared at by the black eye. Under the gaze of the evil one-eyed gaze, the action ability of the Pokémon will be greatly affected. If the difference in strength between the two Pokémon is too large, a single black eye can make the opponent lose the ability to fight. And Shinji's Sunny V is indeed slightly inferior to Xiaomei's Moony V in terms of hard power. After all, Xiaomei's Moony V is older, has evolved longer, and has better control over his own abilities than Shinji's Sunny V. The reason why Shinji put Sunny V in the team, even though he knew that there was a gap in its strength, was because of its psychic attribute. Originally, he wanted to catch Xiaomei off guard as a surprise attack, but who knew that this playboy was so lucky that he actually sent out Moony V, which broke Shinji's plan. Shinji, who was a little slower in reaction speed, was unable to exchange Sunny V back, and could only bite the bullet and find a way to fight. Seeing his Sunny V being chased by Moony V, Shinji looked calm, as if the Pokémon being chased was not his. Sunny V, calm down, use high-speed stars. Shinji commanded. Hearing Shinji's calm voice, Sunny V also calmed down, stopped suddenly and turned around, and shot energy stars at Moony V. Mooney V. Shadow Ball. Xiaomei commanded with the same reaction. Blay. Mooney V also stopped suddenly, and the shadow energy in its mouth condensed, and a black and purple energy ball shot out. Sunny V's high-speed star is much faster than Mooney V's shadow ball, so the skills of both sides collided at a place closer to Mooney V. The explosion caused by the collision of skills directly affected Mooney V. Mooney V, which was affected by the explosion caused by the collision of explosive skills, did not suffer much damage. Coupled with Mooney V's excellent defense ability, the damage caused by the explosion was just to make Mooney V's hair a little messy. Mooney V. Lightning. Xiaomei commanded. Blay. Mooney V readjusted its state, brought a white light, and crashed into Sunny V. We also use lightning. Shinji also commanded. Ify Sunny V heard Shinji's command, and rushed towards Mooney V with a white light. Both Pokémon sprinted towards each other, but the imagined fierce collision did not happen. It turned out that the goal of Sunny V was not to attack, but to pull, rushing directly from the side of Mooney V with white light, and then shuttled back and forth in the rock field. Mooney V was also surprised, and then turned a corner to chase after it. Sunny V, use the reflection wall. Shinji commanded. Xiaomei and the audience present did not understand the meaning of Shinji using the reflection wall at this time. Although the reflection wall can block physical attacks, under such a high-speed pursuit by both sides, the reflection wall may not appear before the Mooney V has already rushed over. And Wutong, who was sitting behind Shinji's relatives and friends, raised his eyebrows, as if he guessed what Shinji wanted to do. A bright transparent energy plate appeared, and the reflection wall appeared, not on the route of Mooney V's attack, but in the air in front of Sunny V. The reflection wall directly formed a platform, and Sunny V jumped onto the reflection wall with a nimble jump, and then continued to jump higher, and another reflection wall appeared. Celebi actually jumped into the air like this. Wutong, who was watching the game, couldn't help but shake his head. Lunaby could fly into the sky, but a certain mythical beast could only walk on the ground. He didn't say who it was. Lunaby, chase it. Xiaomei didn't know what the meaning was for Shinji to let Lunaby fly into the sky, but Xiaomei definitely didn't want to let Celebi go. You know, the effect of black gaze doesn't last forever after it's released. It needs to maintain the existence of the black one eye and let it keep staring at the opponent's Pokémon to keep the effect going. And maintaining black gaze is also a continuous consumption. If it's delayed for too long, instead, it might put Umbreon at a disadvantage. Umbreon followed up decisively after hearing Xiaomei's command. Umbreon, reflection wall. Wrap yourself up. Shinji shouted. Iffy. Umbreon directly built a cube composed of reflection walls to wrap itself up. At this time, Umbreon seemed to have locked himself in an air cell, losing the ability to move, but gaining safety at the same time. Umbreon, high-speed stars. Xiaomei commanded decisively. The reflection wall can block physical attacks, but not special attacks. Light wall. Shinji also commanded. Umbreon's air cage was thickened again, and a layer of light wall was added outside the reflection wall, directly blocking Umbreon's high-speed stars. Want to delay time. Umbreon jump up. Xiaomei commanded. Bray. Umbreon jumped directly to the top of Umbreon's cell. Seeing Xiaomei enter the trap, Shinji decisively commanded. Solanus, reflection wall, light wall. Iffy. Solanus used these two skills again, and the air cell extended upwards to directly trap Mooney V. Although dark Pokémon are immune to psychic attacks, light wall and reflection wall are not attacks, but plates condensed with energy. Mooney V was also directly trapped, and the moment Mooney V was trapped, the reflection wall and light wall under Solanus' feet disappeared. Solanus returned to the ground. Mooney V, break them and run out. Xiaomei also knew that he had been tricked and said hurriedly. Solanus, continuous meditation. Shinji commanded. This time, Solanus, who was not disturbed, directly entered the meditation state and strengthened his special attack. Mooney V, faster, dig a hole. Xiaomei also knew that, if he didn't get out quickly, Mooney V might be in danger. Solanus, signal beam. Shinji commanded when he saw that Mooney V was about to get out. Iffy. Sunny V aimed and shot out a yellow-green energy beam. Mooney V, surprise attack. Xiaomei shouted loudly. Originally, surprise attack could be used to attack first, but the falling state of Mooney made it lose the ability to attack first. He could only twist his body reluctantly, letting Sunny V's signal light speed pass by one side of his body, and Mooney used a palm technique that fell from the sky. A claw slapped Sunny V's body. Sunny V, destroy the death beam. Shinji commanded coldly. Mooney V, malicious pursuit. Xiaomi also commanded at the same time. It was expected that the signal beam would not hit perfectly, and this destroying death beam was the real killer move. Sunny V shot out a beam of energy light in the air, giving Mooney V a close energy bath directly. At the moment when Sunny V opened his mouth, Mooney V reached out with another claw and hit Sunny V's side waist. The attacks of the two Pokémon hit each other at the same time. The next second, Sol and Umbreon fell to the ground at the same time. Chapter 430. The game was over, and the players were busy. After Sol and Umbreon fell to the ground at the same time, the referee raised his hands and waved the flag. Solar and Umbreon both lost their ability to fight. The referee announced loudly, another draw. It seems that this is really a battle of equal strength. Now Shinji has lost 3 Pokémon first. Let's go to the halftime break. The host's voice came out on the radio. Come back, Sol. Thank you for your hard work, Umbreon. Shinji and Xiaomi took back their Pokémon and walked towards their friends and relatives. You played well. I'm very satisfied that we can draw with the opponent in such a disadvantageous situation. Seeing Shinji coming over, Wutong hugged his arms and said seriously, take off your ridiculous look. Shinji looked at Wutong with cold eyes, as if he was looking at a bug. As expected of my best friend, you are still oppressive as always, but I'm dressed as a professional coach now. What do you think we should do in the second half? Wutong said nonchalantly. Then you are really useless as a coach. I'm not at a big disadvantage now. Playboy's Blastoise is the same as having no combat ability now. What I need to do is to use the remaining 3 Pokémon to regain the advantage. Shinji sat next to Wutong and said calmly, that's true. Xiaomi must have thought of this situation. The battle in the second half will only be more difficult. Wutong said, looking at Xiaomi opposite. So you, as a coach, are not going to talk about tactics or something like that? Shinji asked. Tactics? I don't think you need me to say this kind of thing, right? Wutong asked back. It's really not necessary. I just want to fight that playboy with my true strength. Shinji's face rarely showed a smile, and his eyes were full of determination. On the other side, Xiaomi accepted the friendly service of his girlfriend's cheerleading team, and sat next to Xiaoming. You played very well in the first half. Although the advantage is small, it is still an advantage. Xiaoming said. Of course, the goddess of victory and the goddess of luck will all stand on my side today. Xiaomao said confidently. It's Xiaomao who is worthy of being confident, but Shinji will definitely take action in the second half. Xiaoming said. Humph, that gloomy monster can't beat me. I will win this battle. Xiaomao snorted and said. Don't be careless, you should know Shinji's strength. Xiaoming said. Of course I know, even better than he knows, but even so, I must win this game. Xiaomao said with high fighting spirit. I say, what you said is very similar to what Wutong said, setting a flag. Xiaoming said worriedly. Don't worry, it's not the first time that I have fought against that gloomy monster, and a flag can't determine our outcome. Xiaomao replied. The halftime break was over soon. Shinji and Xiaomao returned to the arena. How about it, gloomy monster? Have you thought about what to do after losing? Xiaomao asked. If you lose, go shopping with your girlfriends. What do you think? A playboy with 6 girlfriends. Shinji retorted directly. Shinji and Xiaomao stared at each other at the same time, trying to overwhelm each other with momentum. Okay, the exciting second half of the game is about to begin. The host said loudly. Both players are ready, the game begins. The referee looked around and waved the flag to announce the start of the second half of the game. Chapter 431. The battle was over, and the two sides were in chaos. As the referee's voice fell, Shinji and Xiaomao took out their Pokeballs at the same time. Pidgeot, prepare for battle. Go, Claws. 2 white lights flashed, and Pidgeot and Claws appeared on the field at the same time. This time, there was no obvious restrained relationship between the two sides in terms of attributes, but after the evolution of Claws lost the ability to fly, so Pidgeot still had a certain air advantage. Claws, Sword Dance. Xiaomao had a clear mind and directly commanded Claws to start Sword Dance. Scare. Claws held its claws around it and began to spin. Pidgeot, Feather Dance. Shinji commanded at the same time as expected. B. Pidgeot flapped his wings forward, and a piece of snow-white feathers emitting faint fluorescence shot towards the giant mantis. When the snow-white feathers fell on the body of the giant mantis and the ground near it, they exploded directly, turning into dots of fluorescence, and flying into the body of the giant mantis. Giant mantis, stop. Xiaomao commanded helplessly. There was no way. It was meaningless to let the giant mantis continue the sword dance. The effect of the sword dance is to greatly increase its own attack, and it can also achieve the effect of defense and counterattack by using it. The effect of the feather dance is to greatly reduce the opponent's attack, and the snow-white feathers shot out by the feather dance are not real feathers, but condensed energy. This means that the feather dance cannot be blocked by the sword dance tornado, which means that the sword dance of the giant mantis will become ineffective, and it is really just a simple dance. Moreover, the physical strength consumed by the giant mantis rotating on the spot is definitely more than that of the Pidgeot flapping its wings casually in midair. Rather than forcing the use of sword dance and letting the opponent waste his energy in vain, it is better to simply give up the sword dance. Move at high speed. X2 Xiaomao and Shinji shouted at the same time. Pidgeot and Mantis moved at the same time, and the two Pokémon started to move at high speed in the field at the same time, and as time went on, the speed of movement became faster and faster. Lightning flash. X2 Xiaomao and Shinji's thoughts overlapped again. Sure enough, the person who knows you best is often your opponent. Wutong, who was watching the battle, couldn't help but say as he watched the two people fight. Scare. Mantis' speed increased again, bringing a burst of white light and rushing towards Pidgeot. Pidgeot also made a cry, and the same white light was added to his body, crashing into Mantis at a speed that was difficult to see with the naked eye. The audience's eyes were a little bit behind. The two Pokémon were still on the left field in the last second, and they had already run to the right in the next second. After using the lightning flash, they could only see two white lights in the air and on the ground constantly colliding. Pidgeot, lift off. Shinji commanded. It would not be good for Pidgeot to continue to let Pidgeot and Mantis collide like this. After all, Mantis, a guy with armor, is much harder than Pidgeot. After completing another collision with Mantis, Pidgeot drew a perfect arc and rushed into the sky. Mantis, high-speed stars. Xiaomao certainly would not let Pidgeot go like this, and decisively commanded Mantis to give Pidgeot a parting gift. Scare. Mantis stretched out its claws and shot out pieces of rotating stars. Parrot imitates. Shinji commanded calmly. Pidgeot suddenly turned around in the air, and a flash of light flashed in the air, and then pieces of rotating energy stars were also shot out from under his wings. The high-speed stars on both sides collided, and there was an explosion as expected. Why did you let your Pokémon learn some weird skills? Don't learn bad things from that guy Wutong. Seeing the skills used by Pidgeot, Xiaomao teased. It's good to use. Pidgeot, wind up. Shinji responded coldly, and gave the command. Pidgeot's wings flashed, and a strong storm appeared, rolling towards the giant mantis. Giant mantis, shadow clone. Xiaomao responded calmly. Shock. The giant mantis flashed, and more than 10 giant mantises suddenly appeared in the field. The storm fanned by Pidgeot blew away a small half of it, but did not find the real body. Giant mantis, sneak attack the vital point. Xiaomao continued to command. Shock. X7 The remaining 7 giant mantises on the field heard Xiaomao's command and jumped into the air at the same time. What is the highest level of sneak attacking the vital point? That is to do it in front of you, hit your vitals, and make you unaware of when you are being attacked. The air is Pidgeot's home turf. Pidgeot, Heat Wind. Shinji said a very surprising skill name. Pidgeot flapped his wings again, but this time, the airflow brought by Pidgeot carried a scorching breath. Pidgeot can learn Heat Wind by teaching moves, and it is very coincidental that Wutong's Xiaobai can use Heat Wind, and it is also happy to be the teacher, to teach Pidgeot how to use Heat Wind. Of course, teaching moves is not 100% successful. After all, each Pokémon does not understand the talent and adaptability of different skills. What is gratifying is that Pidgeot is talented in Heat Wind. Pidgeot will definitely not show off his Heat Wind skill easily. After all, as long as it is used well, it can be used as a special move. And now is the best time for this special move to appear. After evolving from Scyther, Mantis has lost the word flying in various senses, although it can still rely on the wings on its back to glide to a certain extent. But the giant mantis in the air lost the flexibility of the flying mantis. So the moment the 7 giant mantises rushed up, they lost the ability to avoid the hot wind. The scorching airflow swept over the 7 giant mantises. Giant mantis! Xiaoxia shouted loudly. However, in response to him, 8 figures fell from the sky. Wait, 8? Question mark? Shinji keenly felt something was wrong. In front of Xiaoxia, a perfect giant mantis stood there. And next to it, a fake giant mantis with burn marks turned into energy smoke and dissipated in the air. Huh, aren't you the same? Let your Pokémon start to learn some weird skills. Shinji snorted coldly. It's good as long as it's useful, isn't it? Xiaoxia replied with a smile. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 432. The fallen clones of the giant clawed mantis disappeared in smoke one by one in the rock field, except for the one closest to the real giant clawed mantis. Obviously, the problem lies here. Substitute? Pidgeot, give me another heat blast. Shinji commanded. B. Pidgeot flapped his wings fiercely in the direction of the giant clawed mantis again, and the flame airflow swept towards the giant clawed mantis. Giant clawed mantis, block it. Xiaoxia shouted. Scare. Xiaoxia certainly didn't let the giant clawed mantis use its own body to resist Pidgeot's heat blast. After all, even if Pidgeot is not good at special attack skills and has no fire attribute, to add to Heat Wind, the fourfold restraint attribute makes Heat Wind still a threat to Mantis. After hearing Xiaoxia's command, Mantis kicked the substitute mantis next to it. Although the substitute mantis was already charred, it still did not disappear. Putting the substitute mantis in front of it, Mantis successfully blocked the Heat Wind attack this time. The second time Pidgeot used Heat Wind, he stopped quickly. After all, there is still a gap between reality and games, and Heat Wind and Pidgeot are really not suitable. Every time Heat Wind is used, it consumes the few fire attribute energy in Pidgeot's body. So it is difficult for Pidgeot to use Heat Wind to attack continuously. Is it the limit for the time being? Mantis, it's time to fight back, Ironhead. Xiaoxia commanded decisively. Scare. The giant claw mantis threw the substitute giant claw mantis held in its claws to the ground, kicked the ground with its feet, and rushed towards Pidgeot. The substitute giant claw mantis thrown to the ground finally completed its mission, and turned into fluorescent dots and disappeared. Pidgeot, wing attack. Shinji would certainly not retreat at this time. After all, the giant claw mantis had already used a substitute once, and a head-on confrontation would only make Pidgeot's advantage greater and greater. Pidgeot raised his wings and dived, and his wings lit up white, and rushed towards the giant claw mantis. Giant claw mantis, bullet punch. Xiaoxia continued to command without stopping. Ironhead is just a cover, and the bullet punch, after closing the distance, is the real attack. Pidgeot, steel wings. Shinji, who has fought with Xiaoxia many times, of course also defended himself and commanded immediately. Pidgeot's wings with white light were covered with a layer of metallic color. Then Pidgeot slightly adjusted his body shape and direction, and chose to ignore the iron head of the giant mantis instead of colliding head-on with it. He rushed through a layer of the giant mantis's body, and used his steel wings to deal with the bullet punch of the giant mantis. The sound of metal collision appeared, and neither Pidgeot nor the giant mantis gained an advantage. The giant mantis fell back to the ground again, and looked up at Pidgeot in the air unwillingly. After colliding with the giant mantis, Pidgeot's body also shook unsteadily, but fortunately it stabilized immediately, so as not to crash due to imbalance. "Pidgeot, fly up," Shinji calmly commanded, while looking at the situation on the field. It's time to decide the winner, and the giant mantis's state has reached the point where it can decide the winner with one move. Giant mantis, gather energy, metal claws. Xiaomi also saw Shinji's thoughts and quickly commanded, "Scare." The giant claws mantis simply closed its eyes, its claws covered with metallic color, adjusting its breathing and sensing everything around it. Pidgeot also obediently flew to the sky and waited for Shinji's next command. "Tailwind," Shinji commanded. After hearing Shinji's command, Pidgeot probably understood his trainer's idea. After all, it has practiced this skill combination for a long time, and even specifically found the unfaithful bird crowhead, Gaga, to learn new skills. The airflow wrapped around Pidgeot, making its movements faster. "Got bird smash," Shinji continued to command. Pidgeot's body was covered with orange light. At this time, it was already in the sky, and did not need to rise again. It swooped down directly from the sky. "Brave bird smash." Shinji did not stop speaking again. "Giant claws mantis, strange force, cut off the invisible enemy." Xiaomi also shouted. The diving Pidgeot was wrapped in white energy. Under the influence of the divine bird's attack, the white energy was mixed with a hint of orange. This shows that Pidgeot's skill is still just a combination, and has not been fully integrated. Otherwise, the energy giant bird that Pidgeot transformed into should be completely orange. Compared with Pidgeot was thinking. The giant mantis on the ground was terrifyingly quiet, and its whole body was emitting a faint red light, which was a manifestation of using strange strength. At the same time, the giant mantis had already put one of its pincers on the side of its body. In a flash, Pidgeot, who had transformed into an energy giant bird, had already rushed in front of the giant mantis. The giant mantis suddenly opened its eyes, and its pincer swung horizontally at a speed that the naked eye could not see clearly, leaving a white light in the air. The slashing white light collided with the energy giant bird, and the giant mantis and Pidgeot unexpectedly stopped for 2 seconds. The next second, the slashing white light tore the energy giant bird, but Pidgeot still hit the giant mantis without hesitation. Pidgeot's energy giant bird coat was directly torn to pieces by the giant mantis's fatal slash, but Pidgeot still hit the giant mantis. Pidgeot smashed the large stone pillars in the rock field with the giant claw mantis, and then crashed into the wall of the silver stadium. Shinji and Xiaomi stared at the landing point of the two Pokémon seriously, waiting for the result to appear. After the smoke and dust produced by the collision dissipated, the result appeared in front of everyone. The giant claw mantis has lost its ability to fight. Pidgeot wins. The referee raised the flag on the side and announced loudly, "Beat." The wounded Pidgeot spread his wings and cried to the sky. Chapter 433. The battle was a battle, but the battle was too fierce. Xiaomi took back the claw mantis, and Shinji did not let Pidgeot hold on for the next battle, so he took Pidgeot back as well. After the final collision with claw mantis, although Pidgeot did not lose his fighting ability directly, he was only left with one breath. Xiaomi and Shinji took back their Pokémon at the same time. The battle between the two players was too tragic. No Pokémon can retain enough fighting power after defeating the other. The host's excited voice came from the radio. Shinji and Xiaomi had no reaction to the host's voice. After all, until now, the two of them were only thinking about how to defeat each other. "Majora, get ready for battle. It's you, Alakazam." The bright red wide feathers make Majora look majestic like a newly crowned king. His two sharp claws clenched in the air, ready to attack at any time. Opposite Majora, Alakazam looked calm, holding a spoon in each hand, with his eyes slightly closed, looking like he was about to fall asleep, but his eyes were staring at Majora. "Majora, sword dance." Shinji took the lead in commanding. Majora, who has an advantage in attributes, can at least complete one round of sword dance. It's a pity that Majora doesn't have black eyes, otherwise he could use the same method to disgust Xiaomi. Majora immediately danced with a special rhythm. "Alakazam, I've miracle." Xiaomei certainly knew what Shinji was thinking, but he had no intention of exchanging Pokémon at all. After all, unlike Sunny V, Alakazam still maintains excellent combat effectiveness when facing dark Pokémon. That is because Alakazam can learn Miracle Eye. Miracle Eye is a skill that allows psychic skills to have an effect on dark Pokémon and can also hit those Pokémon with high dodge rate. Alakazam crossed his two spoons in front of him, and two energy light screens appeared in front of his eyes, as if he was wearing a pair of glasses of future technology. Through the Miracle Eye, mana seemed to have a locked crusher in Alakazam's eyes. After Alakazam used the Miracle Eye, Shinji frowned, and he found that he made a mistake in his decision. It is indeed not wrong to use Sword Dance first. After all, it is very difficult for Alakazam to stop Mana's Sword Dance. But there is obviously a better choice, that is, let Mana use Provocation first, because Miracle Eye is not a damage skill, so Alakazam cannot use Miracle Eye when provoked. In that case, Xiaomei can choose to exchange Pokémon, or let Alakazam delay time to survive the effective period of provocation. In this way, the situation will be very favorable to Magura. And if Xiaomei does not exchange Pokémon, Shinji can also let the provocation continue in a cycle. In that case, Alakazam will basically only be beaten. Unfortunately, the choice at the beginning was wrong, and now even provocation is meaningless. Magura, lightning. Shinji commanded. Mareniu. Magura, who completed the Sword Dance, directly brought a burst of white light and crashed into Alakazam. Alakazam, telekinesis. Xiaomei commanded without hesitation. Magura shuttled left and right in the venue with white light, but although Magura was very fast, it was still firmly locked in Alakazam's eyes. Alakazam's eyes emitted blue light, and telekinesis was activated. Meru suddenly felt his body pause, but the resistance of the evil type to the psychic type was still there, and Meru struggled hard to break free from the control of telekinesis. He continued to crash into Alakazam. Alakazam found that his telekinesis could not directly control Meru, so he decisively changed the target, and the target of telekinesis was changed to the stones on the ground that were broken because of the battle. The stone flew up and smashed towards Meru. Meru was not to be outdone. His two claws slashed back and forth, and his body did not swing, either slashing or dodging, passing through the rain of gravel. Alakazam, teleport. Meru, surprise attack. Xiaomei and Shinji shouted at the same time. When Meru was very close to Alakazam, Alakazam disappeared directly on the spot. However, Mala made a strange turn, and the black hair on his claws swept across the air from bottom to top. Mala's surprising attack not only surprised the opponent, but also surprised himself. This random attack, based on feeling successfully hit the target. Alakazam's instant movement landed right here. At the moment Alakazam appeared, Mana's attack also arrived. The tacit understanding of the two Pokémon looked like a play. Chapter 434. The dead body was broken, and the dead body was broken. Alakazam, who landed after teleporting, did not expect that his landing position was seen through, and panicked and blocked the two spoons in front of him. However, Alakazam, whose physical attack and physical defense were so low that it was pitiful, how could his hasty defense withstand the surprise attack of Magura? Magura's claws wrapped in black air directly broke Alakazam's defense and scratched Alakazam's body. Alakazam's body inevitably retreated backwards, and a piece of rock in the rock field was killed again. However, the force of Alakazam's attack was not that high, so the rock did not break. What an amazing prediction. Mana successfully judged the landing point of Alakazam's instant movement, and made a very effective attack. The host shouted excitedly. Although the host was very passionate, all the trainers present with good eyesight could see that Mana's attack was not predicted. The effect of the surprise attack, coupled with Mana's luck, allowed Mana to successfully perform this performance-like attack. Alakazam, self-regeneration. Xiaomei commanded calmly. Alakazam stood firm again, with yellow and white dots flashing on his body, and the damage caused by Mana quickly recovered. Mamana, a flash of lightning. Shinji was ready to drag Alakazam into his own rhythm. Mareniu. Mana rushed towards Alakazam with a white light. Alakazam, Plan A, continuous teleportation. Xiaomei still let Alakazam focus on roaming. After all, it is very dangerous for a fragile mage to let an assassin get close to him. Alakazam shook the spoon in his hand lightly, and his figure disappeared on the spot. Mana seemed to have expected it long ago. After rushing past the place where Alakazam was just now, he turned around and continued to look for Alakazam's trace. Alakazam was also fully prepared this time and used teleportation continuously. White light shuttled back and forth in the entire rock field, and Mana kept chasing Alakazam. Mana and Alakazam seemed to be in a stalemate, but in fact, the small movements of the two Pokémon did not stop. Mana kept throwing mud around, and the main trick was to let it go, and Alakazam would leave a reflective wall on the spot before each teleportation. Many times, Magura crashed into the reflective wall because he couldn't dodge in time. Later, he simply didn't care and just smashed the reflective wall and rushed through. Of course, Alakazam wasn't much better. Magura just threw mud at random. Not to mention Alakazam, even Magura himself didn't know where the next mud would be thrown. So every time Alakazam landed, he had to face the unknown baptism of mud rain. Alakazam, it's almost time. Mental strength. Xiaoxia obviously didn't intend to keep wasting time like this and commanded decisively. Alakazam's mental power was greatly consumed because of the continuous use of instant movement. In contrast, Magura's physical power was consumed a lot because of the continuous flash of lightning. And Magura's physical power consumed is the capital for Alakazam to stop and face off. Who? Alakazam stretched out 2 spoons. Blue light burst out of his eyes, and layers of mental power fluctuations were emitted. Mara suddenly felt a shock, and was forced to stop in a flash. The large amount of physical strength consumed became its weakness at this time. Mara, shadow clone. Shinji commanded decisively. Ma-niu. Mara's body flashed, and more than 10 Mara appeared and rushed towards Alakazam at the same time. Alakazam opened the Eye of Miracle and immediately began to look for Mara's true body. In front of the Eye of Miracle, the confusing behavior of the shadow clone was meaningless. However, Alakazam took a glance and found that Mara's true body was not in it. How is this possible? Question mark? Alakazam couldn't believe it and took another glance, but before he finished the glance, he felt a chill coming from behind him. Mara's true body touched Alakazam's back without knowing when. The 2 claws cut up and down, and Alakazam was directly knocked out. Alakazam, hold on. Reflective wall. Xiaoxia shouted loudly. Alakazam got up with difficulty, turned around and waved the spoon, and transparent energy plates appeared one after another. Magura, break it, split it. Shinji felt a little familiar, and he instinctively felt that Xiaoxia was going to do something bad. Upon hearing Shinji's command, Magura did not hesitate and chopped with his claws in succession, breaking one piece of reflective wall after another. Alakazam did not stop either and began to create reflective walls not only in front of Magura, but also around it. Next, in 1 second, 2 strange distortions appeared in the space above Mara's head. Finally here, Xiaoxia said with a smile. Mara, hold on. Shinji shouted hurriedly. Ma-niu. Mara's body was covered by a green translucent energy shield. The distorted space also launched an attack, and the energy beam fell, which was blocked by Mara's guard. Predict the future. Alakazam used the prediction of the future at some point. It's not over yet. How could I forget that your Mara would hold on? Xiaoxia said confidently. Sure enough, after Xiaoxia's voice fell, several space distortions appeared in succession, and Mara no longer had the protection of the energy shield. Continuous beams of light fell, and Mara lost his ability to fight under such a baptism. Chapter 435. The battle was a stalemate, and the situation was not good. Looking at the battle situation on the field, Wutong couldn't help but start looking for Xiaoxia's figure. What's going on? Why did he become a master of reverse attributes today? Did these 2 guys secretly ask the gods to possess them before the game started? And then only Zishan responded to them? It was very sudden that Magura lost his combat ability, and Shinji's expression became complicated. Plan A. This is Alakazam's Plan A. Instant movement and reflection wall are all pretexts. What really needs to be done is to leave the attack of predicting the future according to the rhythm. Although the attack of predicting the future is very unexpected, it is not completely impossible to avoid, provided that Magura's actions will not be hindered. But before being attacked by the future sight, Alakazam used himself as bait, took Magira's attack, and then began to leave reflection walls to trap Magira. No, the reflection walls at the beginning were not just a trick. With Alakazam's ability, he couldn't release so many reflection walls at once. So Alakazam should be moving the existing reflection walls while creating new ones. When Xiaomei chose to stop, it was not because he felt that he couldn't continue, but because he felt that the number of reflection walls was enough. Trapped in the middle by a large number of reflection walls, no matter how flexible Magira was, it would be useless. He could only withstand Alakazam's future sight attack. Moreover, Xiaomei guessed that Magira had hidden a defensive skill. The future sight was not released in one breath, but a baptism-style attack carried out in waves. One ring after another. Did he fall into Xiaomei's tactics so early? Shinji figured out everything in an instant, but it was too late now. Magira had already lost. Shinji took back the mana and took out another Pokeball. Looking at the Pokeball in his hand, Shinji was silent for a moment. It seems that I'm too naive, Shinji said calmly. After hearing what Shinji said, Xiaomei raised his eyebrows and rarely mocked Shinji. I really want to win, Xiaomei said calmly. Well, I know, so I said I was too naive. Shinji threw the Pokeball and said he thought Xiaomei would not change his fighting style. But in fact, each of them is changing and improving. But Shinji has never faced this problem. Pi. Shinji did not choose to send his last Pokémon, but let Pidgeot come out to play again. Seeing that Shinji sent Pidgeot, Xiaomei did not choose to exchange Pokémon. After all, a dying counter-attack is very scary. Xiaomei hopes that he has a Pokémon in good condition to deal with Shinji's last Pokémon. Otherwise, this game that seemed to have a great advantage could be reversed at any time. Alakazam, self-regeneration. Xiaomei was not polite and decisively commanded. Alakazam. The yellow and white light flashed on Alakazam again, and his injuries were recovered. Pidgeot, Hasu. Shinji did not rush to attack, but let Pidgeot recover first. Pidgeot flapped his wings and fell to the ground, his body flashing, and his injuries were also recovered. It seems that these two guys are going to fight for their lives. Self-regeneration and Hasu have started to use them. Self-regeneration, Hasu, and other self-recovery skills seem to be very NB and can quickly recover from their injuries, but in fact, the side effects are very large. Unlike the game, in the game it just consumes a page's point, but in reality, this skill is to extract the power in the Pokémon cells to achieve the purpose of rapid recovery. It doesn't matter for Pokémon like Mewtwo, whose cells are extremely active. It's okay for ordinary Pokémon to use it occasionally, but it's okay to use it frequently, or many times at a time, which will cause serious damage to itself. After all, the Pokémon world also follows the law of conservation of energy. Otherwise, how could Pikachu not be able to discharge electricity and Charmander not be able to spit fire? When the energy of Pokémon cells is over-extracted, it will only leave Pokémon with hidden diseases, and may even cause symptoms of collapse of the Pokémon's body. So under the influence of Wutong, Shinji, Xiaomei and Xiaoming basically won't use this skill casually. And now Xiaomei has no hesitation in letting Alakazam use self-regeneration twice, and Shinji also let Pidgeot appear and directly use feathers, which will show the idea of fighting for life of the two. Fighting to this point to some extent, perhaps what the two are pursuing is not just the victory or defeat of this game. Chapter 436. The two Pokémons were in a state of panic, and the battle was over. After recovering their own state, Pidgeot and Alakazam waited for their trainer's instructions. Pidgeot, Strange Wind. Alakazam, Mental Power. Shinji and Xiaomei shouted at the same time. Although their physical state had recovered, the state of the two Pokémon was not much better. They only had the strength to fight. Shinji and Xiaomei both gave up the maneuvering and commanded their own Pokémon to start a fierce attack. Pidgeot flew into the air and flapped his wings. A twisted purple airflow swirled and blew towards Alakazam. Alakazam crossed his two spoons in front of him and shot out mental waves. As if they had planned in advance, Strange Wind and Psychic Power ignored each other and rushed towards their respective targets. Pidgeot and Alakazam completely gave up dodging just wanting to defeat each other first. The result of this fight to the death was that both Pokémon lost their ability to fight at the same time. Come back, Pidgeot. Thank you for your hard work, Alakazam. Shinji and Xiaomei took back their Pokémon the moment they saw the results of the battle. Meraluli, prepare for battle. Dragon King, go. There was no extra choice, and Shinji and Xiaomei sent out their last Pokémon at the same time. In front of Shinji, Merrily, whose eyes looked very similar to his, stood in the field. A pair of triangular eyes that looked very fierce stared at the opposite Dragon King. Xiaomei's Dragon King also stared at Merrily without giving in. Because of Wutong, Shinji and Xiaomei had been exposed to the fairy system early, so Xiaomei knew that he was overwhelmingly disadvantaged in terms of attributes. Fortunately, the dragon attribute is not that important to the Thorn Dragon King. Thorn Dragon King, pray for rain. Xiaomei decisively asked the Thorn Dragon King to change the weather. Although the opposite Mirillary also has the water attribute, it is more advantageous for the Thorn Dragon King on rainy days. Inge. The Thorn Dragon King raised his head and shot a water ball at the sky. The water ball did not fall, but exploded in the air. The next second dark clouds gathered in the sky and heavy rain fell. Meraluli, belly drum. Shinji did not let Mirillary stop the Sea Thorn Dragon from praying for rain. After all, she could not stop it. Although Mirillary has a great advantage in attributes, there is a problem that the dragon slaying skills that Mirillary, as a dragon slaying warrior, can only be ice attributed. Shinji's Mirillary has not yet learned the fairy type skills. This has caused a very embarrassing situation. Because the Thorn Dragon King has the water attribute, it is not weak to ice. That is to say, Shinji's dragon slaying warrior Mirillary cannot kill this Thorn Dragon King. After all, there is no attack with excellent effect, so we can only do it normally. The only advantage is that we can seal the dragon skill attack of the Thorn Dragon King. Mary Mirillary knocked her belly and made a dull drum sound, and Mirillary's attack was directly maximumed out. It looks fierce, but let's try to see if we can catch up. Thorn Dragon King, move, bubble beam. Xiaomei commanded. Inge. Thorn Dragon King slid on the field in a weird posture. Obviously, he didn't even have a foot, but he was surprisingly fast. No need to think about it. Xiaomei's Thorn Dragon King's characteristic is to swim freely. While sliding in the field, Thorn Dragon King spit out a lot of bubbles, but the target of this bubble was not Mirillary, but the ground of the rock field. Meraluli, stop it, freezing beam. Shinji guessed what Xiaomei wanted to do and commanded quickly. Mary. The light emitted by Mirillary followed the Thorn Dragon King all the way, but the Thorn Dragon King was too fast, and Mirillary's attack could not catch up at all. In order to predict the attack, the Thorn Dragon King was as slippery as a loach, and its movement was irregular, making it difficult for Mirillary to predict its direction. The Thorn Dragon King moved back and forth while spitting foam. After a while, with the efforts of the Thorn Dragon King and Mirillary, the rock field was covered with a layer of foam and ice. Coupled with the continuous scouring of rain in the air, the schist field has become a slippery field, making it difficult to move freely. Looking at the appearance of the field, Mirillary and the Thorn Dragon King fell into silence. The Thorn Dragon King found that it was difficult for it to move freely when the field became like this. It had no legs and feet, and it was really hard to stop sliding on it. It could only rely on its face to break. Mirillary also stared with triangular eyes and began thinking about the meaning of his belly bulging. Given the situation in this venue, let alone giving the Thorn Dragon King a punch, it is a question whether he can safely reach the Thorn Dragon King. Shinji and Xiaomei also found that the situation seemed to be different from what they expected. Xiaomei originally just wanted to make trouble for Mirillary, but ended up getting himself trapped. Shinji didn't expect that the reaction between the rain and the freezing beam would be so good that pieces of ice would appear on the ground. Now, no one should move, but if you want to fight for long-range attacks, Mirillary is definitely not the opponent of the Thorn Dragon King. Since you can't walk on the ground, then go underground. Meraluli, dig a hole. Shinji commanded. Mirillary immediately started digging the ground with her two claws, and soon drilled into the ground. Seeing Mirillary drilled into the ground, Xiaomei felt a little uncomfortable because the Thorn Dragon King could not learn earthquakes, and the Thorn Dragon King had no way to deal with Mirillary who drilled down. Even if the Thorn Dragon King could learn earthquake, it is estimated that no one would specifically teach the Thorn Dragon King this skill. Thorn Dragon King, bounce. Xiaomei was not helpless and decisively commanded, Yinch. The Thorn Dragon King curled up, then jumped into the sky and jumped high. Mirillary, who was underground, suddenly lost her target. She couldn't find the Thorn Dragon King. There was no way. Mirillary had to dig a hole to find the Thorn Dragon King. Thorn Dragon King, blizzard. Xiaomei continued to command. The moment Mirillary showed her head, she was greeted by a blizzard. Mirillary, who was washed by the blizzard, had no choice but to go back underground. Don't let it go. Use the water cannon on that one and flush it out. Xiaomei decisively commanded. Yinch, the Thorn Dragon King bounced to the ground and landed at the entrance of a cave. He stretched his mouth towards the entrance of the cave and wanted to flood the 7 armies. Mirillary, freeze fist. Shinji commanded calmly. Mary. At the moment when the Thorn Dragon stretched out its mouth, a fist with cold air rushed out of the hole. A punch hit the Thorn Dragon's face. Don't stick your head into an unfamiliar hole casually, Mirillary. Keep on freezing punching. Shinji continued to command. Mirillary grabbed the Thorn Dragon's sharp barrel mouth with one claw and punched the Thorn Dragon's head again and again. Thunder Dragon, keep on water cannon, rush it away. Xiaomei shouted. However, Mirillary seemed like a gangster familiar with street fights. Seeing that the other side wanted to bite someone, she pinched the other side's mouth without hesitation. The mouth was blocked all of a sudden, and the Thorn Dragon was dumbfounded. Is this what a serious Pokémon should do? Thunder Dragon, bounce. Xiaomei continued to think of ways to get the Thorn Dragon out of trouble. The Thorn Dragon King tried to curl up his body and jumped into the sky again, but because he was carrying Mirillary this time, the height was very low. Mirillary, who was carried into the sky, didn't care at all and continued to punch the Thorn Dragon King on the head one punch after another. Before he landed, the Thorn Dragon King lost consciousness directly. Because he was obsessed with attacking, Mirillary also lost the opportunity to adjust his body balance and reduce the damage of landing. With a bang, Mirillary and the Thorn Dragon King fell to the ground together. The Thorn Dragon King had lost his fighting ability in the air, so there was no need to pay too much attention to it. The real focus was on Mirillary because of the initial abdominal bulge, plus the face-to-face blizzard that dug out of the hole and now fell from the air to the ground. Whether Mirillary could stand up or not determined the outcome of this game. Mirillary, lying on the ground, pushed the Thorn Dragon King who was pressing on her away with great effort and stood up staggeringly. She can still fight. Mirillary has not lost her fighting ability. Now the situation has taken a shocking turn. Both Shinji and Xiaomei only have one Pokémon left. Who will be the final winner? The host said excitedly. Come back, Thorn Dragon, Blastoise, please. Xiaomei took a deep breath and exchanged Pokémon. Cam. Blastoise came on the field again. It's the last battle. Sorry gloomy monster, I must win this battle. Xiaomei said seriously. Wait until you defeat me, Mirillary. Freezing beam. Shinji continued to command Mirillary to attack without any care. The victory will definitely be mine. Blastoise. High five surprise attack. Watering. Xiaomei said coldly. Fuck. After hearing Xiaomei's command, the usually calm Shinji couldn't help but say the name of a plant. PS. Binkui has seen the words of all the readers. The Silver Conference was indeed written for too long, but the main reason was work. I plan to finish writing these plots in more than 30 chapters. But it's already 11 o'clock every day when I get home and finish cleaning up. In order to ensure daily updates, I can only write about 1,500 words. It's inevitable that the original 4,000 words in a chapter may be split into 2 or 3 chapters, which is why it's so long. I will also try to speed up and enter the plot stage as soon as possible. In fact, I will also vomit from writing battles. So, please forgive me. CAC chapter 437. The battle was over. Mirillary has lost her fighting ability. The winner is Xiaomei. With the referee's voice, the battle between Shinji and Xiaomao officially came to an end. There was no suspense about the final outcome of the two. The moment Xiaomao's Blastoise used the water flow ring, Shinji knew that he had no chance. Sure enough, Xiaomao took full advantage of the characteristics of the Blastoise, retracted into the shell, and used the water flow ring to defend. He played the defense and delay to the fullest. How could Meriluli, who was already at the end of her strength, bear this kind of delay? After forcing a wave of bursts, and failing to defeat the Blastoise, she lay down on the ground and gave up. What a tragic but wonderful battle. Xiaomao and Shinji fought to the last moment, and their Pokémons also used up their last bit of strength, but Xiaomao won. Let us congratulate Xiaomao for advancing to the finals. The host said excitedly. Xiaomao is awesome. Xiaomao will win. X6 Xiaomao's girlfriend cheerleaders also celebrated happily. In the evening, the four people started a night tea party as usual after dinner. Although the four people fought to the death on the field during the day, it did not affect their friendship. If they lost, they were not as skilled as others, and there was nothing to be angry about. Although Xiaomao's dragging tactics of Blastoise at the end were very uncomfortable, Shinji also understood that, if he could create an advantage in the early stage, why would he be afraid of Blastoise fighting a war of attrition? In the final analysis, it was still because of his own strength. Shinji, who had come to the end of the Silver Conference, had already started to train his Pokémon. This time it was the semi-finals again. Did he have a semi-final curse? Shinji sipped the bitter tea and frowned as he thought. The final will be the day after tomorrow. Xiaomao, you must do your best to kick Wutong off. Xiaoming drank the milk and said to Xiaomao, the goddess of victory favors me, and the victory is definitely mine. Just Wutong, wash your neck and wait. Xiaomao said, while drinking coffee elegantly. Oh, you are very brave. Dare to talk to me like this. Wutong raised his eyebrows and said with interest, while holding the hot cocoa in his hand. Just kidding, I'm super brave, okay. Xiaomao paused after saying this. I don't know why, after saying this, I always feel a little chill in a region that is not easy to describe casually, and at the same time, I feel like I have become an educational model. Xiaomao shook his head, dispelling that strange feeling, and looked at Wutong and said seriously, but I hope you can use your full strength tomorrow. I always let my Pokémon use their full strength, okay? Wutong asked strangely. I'm not talking about your Pokémon, I'm talking about you. You haven't used your strongest Linoop since the Silver Conference. Xiaomao said. Has it been discovered? But it doesn't make much difference. Xiaoho and the others are also very strong now. Wutong put down the cocoa in his hand and asked. Although Xiaomao's words were a bit exaggerated, Wutong has always been the main player of the second team, and the first team picked two to guarantee the bottom. After all, it is a serious conference, and out of respect for the opponent, Wutong will definitely not let his Pokémon go, but Wutong also wants the second team to get effective training and competition experience, so he chose this method. I just didn't expect Xiaomao to take the initiative to bring up such a thing. They are indeed very strong, but not strong enough, right? This battle is very important to me, so use your full strength, Wutong. Whether it is the Linoop or your strange abilities, use them all. Even if it makes me lose ugly, it doesn't matter. Xiaomao said very seriously. Really? Okay, it seems that I have to show all my cards. Wutong scratched his head helplessly, then drank the hot cocoa and said. The next day, Wutong and Xiaomao went to the hall together to register their final teams. After that, Xiaomao went straight back to the dormitory and focused on thinking about tactics. Looking at Xiaomao's serious look, Wutong didn't know what to say. Shinji and Xiaoming didn't disturb Xiaomao either. Wutong knew that the Silver Conference was a turning point for Xiaomao, and Shinji and Xiaoming also saw Xiaomao's seriousness. Time passed quickly, and a day passed quickly. The final between Wutong and Xiaomao was about to begin. PS. A little transition. Let the ice cube think about it, and the ice cube strives till the battle ends within 3 chapters, and then the next plot begins. Chapter 438. The two sides of the stadium were already in place. In the Silver Stadium, Wutong and Xiaomao were already in place. On the day of the final, the atmosphere in the stadium was much more lively than before. Kona, who was slacking off here, planned to watch Wutong's final before leaving, but he received an emergency call and left in a hurry. Not to mention Adu, who was originally a workaholic and had already gone to continue fighting against evil forces. Although the two great gods left, Professor Oak, Liubo, Hanako, Xiaozhi and other relatives and friends of Wutong were still there. Especially in the final, Wutong played against Xiaomei, and their common friends all shouted loudly to cheer for them. As for who they were cheering for, they didn't say it clearly. Anyway, both of them cheered together. Shinji and Xiaoming sat in the waiting room to watch the game. After all, they still had to fight for the third place in the afternoon. The finals started, and the roulette wheel was still the first, but this time the roulette wheel for choosing the venue disappeared. The venue for the finals was directly determined to be the most common venue marked with white lines. However, the order of attacking first still needs to be decided. After the roulette wheel was turned, Xiaomei, who was on the green side, got the first move qualification. Is the first attack mine? It seems that the goddess of luck will stand on my side today. Go, Nidoking. Xiaomei took out the Pokeball and threw it out in a handsome posture. Come on, Xiaomei, 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 Xiaomei will win. X6 Xiaomei's girlfriend cheerleaders are still dedicated, with long legs dancing non-stop, attracting the audiences, referring to a squinting-eyed LSP. Attention behind Xiaomei. Nido. Xiaomei's main warrior Nidoking appeared on the stage, and Nidoking roared excitedly as soon as he appeared on the stage. Ditto, I'll leave it to you to lead the charge. Wutong had long been accustomed to Xiaomei's narcissistic behavior and threw his Pokeball casually. Since Xiaomei wanted him to do his best, he would of course satisfy his good brother's wish. Now the blue and round Ditto appeared on the field. Looking at the roaring Nidoking on the opposite side, Ditto felt interesting, activated the characteristic transformer, and twisted his body into a blue Nidoking. Ditto imitated Nidoking and began to roar to the sky. Usually, he actively controlled his own characteristics, so this was the first time that Ditto relied on his characteristics to transform into an opponent. Looking at the two roaring Nidokings, the referee waved the flag in his hand downward and announced loudly, both players are ready. The game begins. Nidoking, gather your energy. Xiaomei commanded. Blue light shone in Wutong's eyes, and he had to do his best if he said he would do it. Ditto, swampert mode, ram. Nidoking stopped howling and concentrated. Because Xiaomei took the initiative, Wutong waited until Xiaomei gave the command before activating his superpower. But the speed of superpowers made Wutong's command arrive first. Now the moment Nidoking adjusted his mind, Ditto had completed his transformation, and then suddenly kicked the ground with his limbs, and rammed into Nidoking like a cannonball. Nidoking, super horn attack. Xiaomei shouted without stopping. He knew how annoying it was to have Wutong command with superpowers. That attack without pause and warning was enough to make people overwhelmed. If you don't want to be led by the nose, you have to fight against Wutong, abandon all tactics, and fight with the purest attack. The horn on Nidoking's head flashed and pushed forward. Ditto in swampert mode, and Nidoking collided directly. Giant Beedrill mode, malicious pursuit. The body of Ditto that collided with Nidoking changed, and a green giant Beedrill appeared. Two long needles were covered with black mist and stabbed directly into Nidoking's body. Xiaomei's Nidoking characteristic is poisonous sting. Although it cannot make Ditto poison 100%, why should we go for the probability of poisoning, since there is a way to avoid it? Nidoking, make a big fuss. Xiaomei continued to command. The effect of malicious pursuit is that, if the opponent has been damaged in this round, the damage of malicious pursuit will be doubled. In real battles, if malicious pursuit wants to double the damage, it needs to achieve continuous attacks in a short period of time, and the range of attack also needs to be similar to the position of the previous attack. Although it is troublesome to use, it is very effective. Nidoking felt that Ditto's sting was much more painful than he imagined. Hearing the command of his trainer again, Nidoking, who was already irritable and fond of fighting, had red light in his eyes. He ignored the pain in his body and smacked Ditto with one claw. Swampert mode, arm hammer. Ditto began to transform again, but after all, it was very close to Nidoking at this time, so it was definitely too late to complete the transformation. In battle, Pokémon can always grow quickly. Ditto simply hit out a needle-like arm, like a punch. Then, starting from the needle-like arm, Ditto began to transform into Swampert mode, with a big fist and a thick arm, and continued to transform. One punch barely blocked Nidoking's claw, and then the other fist, that completed the transformation clenched, and the white light covered Nidoking's face. Seeing Ditto's spontaneous actions, Wutong couldn't help but sigh that the child had grown up, and had begun to understand the next stage of training. The Ditto just now clearly had some intention of partial transformation. Although Wutong didn't even have a theory for partial transformation, it didn't prevent Wutong from thinking that this was a good start. Nidoking, who was punched by Ditto, was completely furious. He swung his head back fiercely and hit Ditto with a headbutt. Ditto didn't show weakness and punched again. I have become our big brother. Am I still afraid of fighting with you? The real muscle man and the fake muscle man began to fight passionately. You punched me, and I punched you. No one dodged. Ditto's side became more and more excited, while Nidoking's side became more and more sober. It should have been in chaos, but Ditto woke it up. Nidoking, ultimate impact. Xiaoxia also saw the situation and decisively let Nidoking try to end the game. Suicune mode, Blizzard. Wutong knew that a passionate fight would speed up the game, so he played his trump card. Ditto jumped back and turned into Suicune again, with a blizzard sweeping out. Nidoking was happy that Ditto had pulled away because it had given it the distance to sprint. Yellow-white light covered his entire body and he crashed into Ditto. Nidoking knocked Suicune away in the blizzard. Both Pokémon fell to the ground at the same time. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 439. The two of them were in a state of panic. Nidoking lost consciousness with a tilted head. He had a passionate fight with Ditto in Swampert mode for a long time, and was attacked by Beedrill mode. Finally, he faced the blizzard in Suicune mode, and came to an ultimate attack of mutual destruction. Wutong couldn't help but praise Nidoking's tenacity and perseverance. The Ditto that also fell to the ground was not in Suicune mode, but it did not turn back into a blue and round slime. At this time, Ditto turned into Alakazam with tender red armor, and there was still a yellow light on his body that had not completely dissipated. Before the referee announced a tie, Ditto in Alakazam mode stood up shakily. Nidoking loses his ability to fight. Ditto wins. The referee saw Ditto stand up again and put down Xiaoxia's flag, raised the flag in Wutong's direction and announced loudly. Seeing Ditto in Alakazam mode and the yellow light that just dissipated from it, Xiaoxia already knew what happened. At the moment, when Nidoking was about to hit Ditto, Wutong's command also arrived, making Ditto turn into Alakazam mode and use self-regeneration. Of course, Ditto couldn't move so fast after receiving the command, which is why Wutong didn't let Ditto move away directly. After being knocked away by Nidoking, Ditto, flying in the air, used his consciousness that was about to disappear to use self-regeneration. For a terrifying Pokémon like Ditto with strong cell activity, the side effects of self-regeneration are much smaller. With self-regeneration, Ditto didn't lose his ability to fight. Even if he could only transform once or twice at most at this time, he still won this round of battle. As expected, Wutong is also very persistent about winning or losing, and it is really difficult to deal with Wutong who is going all out. Xiaoxia thought about taking back Nidoking. Ditto also changed from Alakazam mode back to a blue and round slime. Giant Claw, please. Xiaoxia exchanged Pokémon. However, Wutong did not intend to exchange Ditto in a very bad state. Ditto, Fortis mode, 3 consecutive traps. Seeing that Xiaoxia had exchanged Pokémon, Wutong decisively issued an order. Generally speaking, Wutong does not want to fight like this. After all, Ditto does not need this kind of quality-filled fighting method. But since Xiaoxia took the initiative to ask Wutong to go all out, he must let Xiaoming see his quality. As soon as Giant Claw appeared, the body of Ditto on the opposite side changed, and it became a khaki-colored Pokémon with pits like a meteorite. Then, purple, yellow, and large rocks were thrown all over the field, like crazy as if they were free. Giant Mantis. Don't let it throw. Lightning flashes. Xiaomao was speechless and quickly asked Giant Mantis to stop it. Scare. Giant Mantis turned into a stream of light and crashed into Ditto. Surprise. Wutong said with a smile. Ditto in the Fortis mode had a dazzling light all over his body. Damn. Giant Mantis, get out of the way. Xiaomao was shocked. Why did this guy Wutong let his Pokémon use such a self-harming skill today? Giant Mantis made an extreme bend and drew a 7 away from Ditto. However, the light on Ditto's body disappeared instantly when it was bright to the limit. Pop, a sound like a bubble bursting appeared, and Ditto returned to its original state and fell to the ground, losing its combat ability. As Ditto lost its combat ability, the field fell into silence. The Giant Mantis also stopped, looking at the blue unknown object on the ground with a puzzled look. What's going on? You call this a big explosion? Xiaomao asked with a twitch in the corner of his eye. Yes, the big explosion 1/10,000th power version. How about it? Surprise, right? Wutong said and took back the Ditto. Are you kidding? How could a trainer like him let his Pokémon use self-harming skills to die together with the opponent? Surprise? Explain to me, what is a surprise? What is a %surprise? Xiaomao said irritably. Wutong was shocked. What's going on? Has Xiaomao been possessed by Zangmazi? The surprise is that my next Pokémon is it. Go, Beedrill. Wutong threw the Pokéball and said. Buzz, the silver armored and red striped Beedrill appeared on the scene. Although I don't know how to distinguish between enemies and friends, but the spikes, poison spikes, and stealth rocks deployed by Ditto didn't react to the appearance of Beedrill. Beedrill looked at the familiar red armored Pokémon on the opposite side and seemed a little bored. Why is it this thing again? It feels like there have been a lot of battles with Mantis recently. Seeing the Beedrill sent by Wutong, Xiaomao also felt a headache. After all, Wutong's Beedrill has been getting more and more extreme. It is completely the kind of top assassin who pursues a one-shot kill. The point is that Wutong's Beedrill is much tougher than the average one. It is not a fragile assassin at all. It is a hard-skinned assassin, which is a headache. However, extreme also means simple. Xiaomao doesn't need to think too much. He already knows Wutong's plan. Mantis, sword dance, gather energy, attack. He is also confident in his Mantis. Scare. Mantis took a deep breath, and an invisible momentum emerged spontaneously. Several energy swords revolved around Mantis. Giant Beedrill, sharpen, move at high speed, iron wall. Wutong also started strengthening the Giant Beedrill. Buzz, the Giant Beedrill's two needles rubbed back and forth, and its whole body was emitting a metallic luster. At the same time, the frequency of the wings on its back flapping became higher and higher. Giant Beedrill, breath of speed, two needles, fatal needle stab. Wutong commanded. Giant Mantis, II slash. Xiaomao also did not hesitate to let the Giant Mantis use its strongest attack, a blow to cut off the invisible enemy. The whole body of the Giant Beedrill began to vibrate, and the dark red pattern on its body began to shine. The dark red light flowed on the Giant Beedrill like flowing magma. The Giant Mantis closed its eyes, highly concentrated its mind, and put its right claws at its side to secretly accumulate power. The next second, the Giant Beedrill moved, and a silver red intertwined line cut through the space, and the figure of the Giant Beedrill left in place slowly dissipated. The Giant Mantis on the other side was already motionless, as if it was isolated from the world. The two Pokémon, one static and one dynamic, formed a sharp contrast. At the moment, when the silver red interwoven line touched the out-of-this-world Giant Mantis, a blade light flashed that seemed to cut through space. After the blade light disappeared, Beedrill appeared behind Giant Mantis. A sound of glass breaking was heard, and a crack appeared on the chest of Beedrill tilted upward. Giant Mantis was not much better. A semicircular puncture wound appeared on its right side rib. With the wound as the center, many cracks extended densely towards the front chest of Giant Mantis. The next second, the two Pokémon fell down at the same time. Giant Mantis and Beedrill lost their combat ability at the same time. The referee raised the flag and announced loudly, Wutong and Xiaomei took back their Pokémon, and Miss Joy and Jigglypuff from the Silver Stadium rushed out, took the Pokéballs of the two, and went to treat Beedrill and Giant Mantis. This round of battle may be the most brutal battle in the entire Silver Conference. After all, both Pokémon left shocking wounds on each other. However, Wutong and Xiaomei were not too worried. After all, with the daily training of Beedrill and Mantis, such wounds are rare, but not enough to make them panic. Kangao, prepare for battle. Go, Armorbird. Wutong and Xiaomei sent out their Pokémon at the same time. The green onion appeared on the field, directly pulled out the two green blades behind it, and threw a green onion, and looked at the opposite side. As soon as Xiaomei's Armorbird appeared on the field, the invisible rocks that Ditto had laid before acted, and pieces of rocks emerged, and shot out from the ground and hit the body of the Armorbird. Fortunately, the armor of the Armorbird is very hard, and the invisible rocks hit the Armorbird and shattered, causing little damage. Because the armored bird was flying in the air, neither the scattered spikes nor the poison spikes had any effect on the armored bird, and Ditto's 3 consecutive traps were unsuccessful, and had little effect. Onion Ranger / Armored Bird, Sword Dance. Wutong and Xiaomei looked at each other, and the battle started directly. Onion Ranger danced the barbecue dance taught by the Green Onion God. Armored Bird spread its wings wide, and twisted in the air. Armored Bird, high speed movement, steel wings. Xiaomei saw that the armored bird had completed a strengthening and directly let the armored bird start attacking. Xiaomei's armored bird didn't seem to like shouting. After hearing Xiaomei's command, it adjusted its body slightly, and then rushed directly towards the Onion Ranger with its wings, covered with metallic luster. Onion Ranger, split the tiles. Wutong was not to be outdone, and directly let the Onion Ranger go up. The Onion Ranger stopped the barbecue dance, and 2 onion blades chopped from top to bottom. The 2 onion blades collided with the wings of the armored bird. At the same time, the Onion Ranger and the armored bird lost their balance slightly and swayed backwards. Dance wildly and strike. Strike randomly. Wutong and Xiaomei shouted at the same time. The Onion Ranger's wings flipped flexibly, and the 2 onion blades were tightly grasped, one in front, and one in the back. The black and purple streamer wrapped around the onion blades, and the Onion Ranger began to swing the onion blades violently. The armored bird's beak shone, and its neck swung back and forth flexibly, pecking at the Onion Ranger from all directions. Although both used sword dance, the armored bird's attack was far lower than that of the Onion Ranger. After all, the Onion Ranger turned everything into an attack. But the armored bird was tough. For a while, the Onion Ranger and the armored bird fought evenly. Wutong raised his eyebrows. No, he had to seize the advantage. Onion Ranger, see-through. Armored bird, faint. Xiaomei also spoke, while Wutong was commanding. Shit, I was seen through. Wutong was shocked. The onion soldier retreated, his eyes flashing. The armored bird chased after him, pecking at the onion soldier with its glowing beak. The onion soldier raised the onion blade in his hand, trying to interrupt the armored bird's attack. Who knew that the armored bird's neck twisted flexibly, bypassing the onion soldier's attack, and its beak directly pecked at the onion soldier's body. The armored bird's beak caused unexpectedly high damage, and it actually pierced directly into the onion soldier's body. No, it's his substitute. Xiaomei couldn't help but say. Sure enough, behind the onion soldier pierced by the armored bird's beak, an equally dark onion soldier appeared. Xiaomei looked into Wutong's eyes, and sure enough, there was still a blue light in Wutong's eyes. At the most critical moment, in the mind of the onion soldier, the god of green onion sent down an oracle. After swapping bodies many times, and with regular training, following the oracle's instructions has become an instinct for Kang Yubbing. So, at the moment of being attacked, Kang Yubbing successfully used his substitute. Your prediction is excellent, but my reaction is also very strong. Wutong said with a smile. Chapter 440. The enemy was defeated, and the enemy was defeated. Seeing Wutong's proud look, Xiaomei was speechless, but there was nothing he could do. Having superpowers is amazing, right? Armored bird, attack randomly. Xiaomei simply ignored this guy, and commanded the armored bird to continue attacking. After the armored bird slapped the substitute of the green onion soldier to the side with one wing, the bird's beak emitted light again, and pecked at the green onion soldier. Stop it, Green Onion Soldier. Use continuous slash. Wutong said. Gap. The Green Onion Soldier slashed with 2 green onion blades alternately, accurately slashing on the armored bird's beak. Because of the characteristics of continuous slashing, the Green Onion Soldiers are heavier than one green onion, and the armored bird feels that the pressure on its neck is getting heavier. Finally, with another collision between the green blade and the bird's beak, the armored bird's head was knocked to one side. Wutong even felt that he heard a crisp snapping sound. Green Soldier, don't stop. 2 sword styler crab claws. Wutong continued to command. Cap. The Green Soldier flapped his wings, holding the 2 green blades in reverse, and the metallic color covered the green blades. Then the Green Soldier jumped above the armored bird, and the 2 green blades crossed and fell from the sky. The 2 green blades passed through the armored bird's neck and directly inserted into the ground. The armored bird's head also hit the ground, and its movement was locked at the same time. If the armored bird's neck was not covered with armor, Wutong felt that the armored bird might need to treat its cervical spine. Armored bird, come on, break free. Xiaoxia encouraged the armored bird, even though he knew that the armored bird had basically no hope of winning. Kanto, swing wildly. Wutong commanded without any intention of holding back. Gap. The Kanto gave up controlling the 2 green blades of the armored bird and grabbed the stand that was fanned aside by the armored bird. The duck blade appeared, and the 2 wings held the duck blade tightly, and the black and purple energy wrapped around the duck blade. After all, the stand is made entirely of energy, and the energy conduction is much better than the green blade. The whole duck blade has turned black and purple at this time. Next, please enjoy the percussion music. The Kanto forging iron. After a series of ding-dong sounds, the armored bird tilted its head and lost consciousness. The armored bird lost its ability to fight. The Kanto won. The referee announced with a flag. Excellent prediction and wonderful counterattack. Xiaoxia showed his fighting consciousness, but Wutong also showed the suppression power as a champion. Both sides contributed a wonderful halftime battle. Now Xiaoxia's 3 Pokémon have lost their fighting ability first. Let's enter the halftime break. The host announced loudly. Seeing the armored bird on the ground, Xiaoxia silently put it away and left the battlefield. Seeing Xiaoxia leave silently, Wutong didn't care. He didn't believe that Xiaoxia was it. This guy must have taken the time to go back and think about the tactics for the second half. Wutong looked at the Green Onion Soldier and the duck knife in his hand and felt a little bit of loss. After all, the duck knife disappeared after the halftime break, but the energy consumed by the Green Onion Soldier was real. In the future, there will be such a competition system that the Green Onion Soldier can't be stuck in the middle of the field. The Green Onion Soldier inserted the 2 green onion blades back to his back one by one and fell into deep thought while looking at the duck knife in his hand. At this time, the evil energy on the duck knife had receded and returned to its original color. Green Onion Soldier, let's go and take a rest. Wutong called the Green Onion Soldier. However, the Green Onion Soldier didn't care about the call of the Green Onion God. Oh, no, now his trainer, but looked up and down at the duck knife in his hand. Seeing the state of Onion Soldier, Wutong could not help but frown. According to past experience, when Onion Soldier is like this, it usually means that he wants to make trouble. Maybe in Onion Soldier's consciousness, he is not making trouble, but with his brain circuit that wants to become the world's #1 stone material, most of the wonderful ideas that come out are to make trouble. Wutong walked towards Onion Soldier with a trace of vigilance in his heart. However, as soon as Wutong walked to Onion Soldier seemed to have figured something out and started to move, opening his duck mouth. Under Wutong's shocked eyes, Onion Soldier put the duck knife into his mouth. Fuck. Rebellious son. Shut up. Wutong slapped the duck knife out with a slap. This unlucky child really wants to make trouble again. Huh. Onion Soldier looked at the trainer who blocked him in confusion. What the hell? What kind of thinking did you go through to think of eating the duck knife? I'm going. Wutong roared angrily. Quack. Quack. Quack quack. Kang Yubing heard Wutong's question and patted his chest proudly and quacked. Wutong's eyes twitched as he listened to Kang Yubing's story. Then he took a deep breath, grabbed the hair on the top of Kang Yubing's head, and dragged it to the rest area. According to Kang Yubbing, it also felt that it was a waste to let the duck knife disappear like this. So just now it was looking at the duck knife and thinking about how to avoid wasting it. Although it looks like a knife, it can still be seen that it is a duck. Duck knife, duck, food, can be eaten. Simple logic is established. Kang Yubbing immediately started to try, but unfortunately, he died before he could accomplish his mission. The former emperor spent all his budget before he could start his business, and the knife was stopped by the god of Scallion before he could even start his own business. It's a pity, sad, lamentable. Wutong didn't want to say anything about the outrageous brain circuit of Kang Yubbing. As long as this kid can live a healthy life, it will be fine. Although Kang Yubbing's ideal of living a healthy life is to be an ingredient. Seeing Wutong dragging Kang Yubbing away, and Kang Yubbing's outrageous operation just now, Wutong's relatives and friends all fell into silence. Sure enough, Kang Yubbing is the Pokémon that looks most like Wutong. Chapter 441. The duck was in the water, but the duck was in the water. The onion soldier, who was taken back to the rest area by Wutong by the hair on his head, looked puzzled. Why was his genius idea not understood by his trainer? Our genius is really lonely? The onion soldier suddenly felt that he might have a talent for philosophy. It seems that in addition to being an excellent food duck, he can also become a philosophical duck. Seeing that the onion soldier was lost in thought, Wutong felt a headache and slapped the onion soldier on the head. The genius philosophical duck onion soldier was interrupted by the ruthless god of onions before he set foot on the path of philosophy. After the halftime break, Wutong took onion soldier back to the battlefield. Xiaoxia was already standing on the opposite side with a smile on his face, looking frivolous like a playboy. Oh no, he was. Both players are ready. The referee looked around at the two. Onion Ranger walked back to the field with two onion blades already tightly grasped in his wings. My baby, go. Xiaoxia took out a Pokeball in a pretentious manner, kissed it and threw it out. Alakazam with two spoons appeared on the field. Seeing Alakazam appear, Onion Ranger seemed very happy because Alakazam was also a double blade flow. And Alakazam was holding a spoon, which showed that Alakazam was an excellent foodie. Very good, a good comrade. Alakazam, bend the spoon. Xiaoxia was not polite and took the lead in commanding. Alakazam shook the spoon in his hand, and the two spoons bent strangely. Onion Ranger looked at Alakazam's actions with a look of shock on his face. The spoon was actually bent. Kang Yubbing, be more normal, sword dance. Wutong shouted. Kang Yubbing shook his head and danced the barbecue dance on the spot. No effect. Alakazam, meditate. Xiaoxia said with a little regret. He thought that with Kang Yubbing's personality, he would definitely be completely attracted by the spoon. As a result, Wutong's prestige was higher than he thought. Alakazam crossed his legs and floated on the spot. The blue streamer moved back and forth on Alakazam's body. Kang Yubbing and Alakazam strengthened themselves together, and the two Pokémon worked hard to strengthen their own attack capabilities. After looking at Alakazam's state, Wutong took a deep breath. After a full round of rest, his superpowers recovered a lot. Although he has been practicing superpowers, commanding Ditto to fight is still much more tiring than expected. It turns out that it is because his talent is too poor. Kang Yubbing, a flash of lightning. Wutong's eyes flashed with blue streamers, and the god of green onion once again sent down its oracle. It's the oracle. The onion soldier moved his body, bringing a white light, and rushing towards Alakazam. Wutong used this kind of command method that does not require silence again. The host said in surprise when he saw the changes on the field. Alakazam. Alakazam opened his eyes, and at this time, Alakazam's eyes were white. Wutong felt something was wrong. In his superpower vision, he saw that Alakazam seemed to have a line extending from his body and connected to Xiaoxia's head. The onion soldier, which was moving at high speed, suddenly stopped, as if something invisible controlled it. The onion soldier was confused and struggled hard. Wutong frowned and looked at Xiaoxia. At this time, Xiaoxia's face was slightly pale, and fine beads of sweat oozed from his forehead. Xiaomei really wanted to fight hard. This was the only thought in Wutong's mind at this time. PS. Originally, Binkue wanted to end the finals in this chapter, but plans can't keep up with changes. Binkue had something to do in his life today, so he didn't have time to write, so he could only postpone it for another day. Chapter 442. The old man was very angry, but he was very angry. How to deal with Wutong's high-speed battle commanded by superpowers? The answer is simple. Just use the same method. Although Xiaomei does not have superpowers, there are not a lot of superpowered Pokémon, and he also happens to have one of the best, Alakazam. It's really painful to connect with Alakazam with superpowers. I don't know how Wutong can hold on. If Wutong knew Xiaomei's idea, he would definitely want to give Xiaomei a hard time. You have to know that there is a big difference between human superpowers and Pokémon superpowers. The way Wutong connects with his Pokémon with superpowers is to try to make his and Pokémon's mental fluctuations consistent to achieve the best mental command. Xiaomei completely let Alakazam force his mental power in. It would be strange if this burden was not great. Garbing, waving wildly. Wutong also saw that Xiaomei could not hold on for long. Wutong, who did not intend to use any tricks, was ready to end the battle as soon as possible. Otherwise it would be interesting if he won, because the opponent's trainer could not fight. Gap, the green onion sprinter shouted, and the black mist-like energy emerged from his body, forcibly dispersing Alakazam's mental power. Alakazam, Eye of Miracle, mental power. Xiaomei was not to be outdone and commanded Alakazam to continue attacking. Alakazam's eyes became brighter, and the energy glasses were put on again, and the mental power wave rushed out. The energy of the psychic system is naturally inferior to the energy of the evil system. Without absolute crushing, the energy of the psychic system is even difficult to have an effect on the evil system. Although Wutong's Onion Ranger is a fighting type Pokémon, it also has many dark type skills, and is good at using dark type energy. With Wutong's fighting style, he might come up with a strange trick that uses dark type skills all over his body, so that Onion Ranger's whole body is covered with dark type energy to resist psychic type skills. So Xiaomei decisively opened the Eye of Miracle first. Even if it does not have the effect of specializing in dark type, the Eye of Miracle still has the ability to accurately hit. So opening the Eye of Miracle will only be beneficial and harmless. Onion Ranger danced with two onion blades with great force, and did not show weakness in the face of the mental power fluctuations that came over. Onion Ranger rushed towards Alakazam, while waving the onion blades. Alakazam, Reflection Wall, predict the future. Xiaomei continued to command. With Alakazam's superpower connection, Xiaomei felt that his fighting style would become more flexible. Alakazam. Alakazam crossed his two spoons in front of him, and a series of transparent energy walls appeared to block Onion Ranger's advance. Stand, a flash of lightning. Wutong commanded calmly. The Onion Soldier split into two, and the stand Onion Soldier ignored the reflection wall, and rushed to Alakazam. The Onion Soldier's body brought a white light around the reflection wall, and rushed behind Alakazam. The Onion Soldier's use of the stand had always made Xiaomei subconsciously ignore that the Onion Soldier's stand could actually move. As a stand made entirely of energy, the Onion Soldier could not be blocked by the reflection wall. P.S. There is a chapter in the Pokémon special that is about being exhausted to death. Xiaoxia let Pikachu use the stand to enter the Golden City covered by the energy barrier. So the Onion Soldier's body and the stand were able to get close to each other quickly. The stand Onion Soldier swung towards Alakazam, and Alakazam waved his spoon, and an energy blade appeared. However, the target of this energy blade was not the Onion Soldier's stand in front of him, but the Onion Soldier's body behind him. Xiaomei chose to let Alakazam take the attack of the substitute Onion Ranger, to get a chance to attack the Onion Ranger's body. See-through. Wutong did not want to make such an exchange. Onion Ranger's eyes flashed, and the onion blade raised up. A white light flashed, and the spiritual blade was cut in two. Onion Ranger turned sideways, and passed through the two halves of the spiritual blade. The attack of the substitute Onion Ranger had also hit at this time, but Onion Ranger's substitute was indeed used as a weapon, so the substitute Onion Ranger could indeed move, but the attack power was almost zero. However, the attack of the substitute Onion Ranger was not intended to cause damage to Alakazam at the beginning. The attack of the substitute Onion Ranger made Alakazam stagger twice. Taking this opportunity, Onion Ranger bit an onion blade and then grabbed the substitute Onion Ranger. 3 sword style, Purgatory Demon Slash. The metallic color covered the 3 blades, and the black and purple mist spread all over the body. Purgatory Demon Slash Ghost Slash. The Green Onion Soldier was like a madman, slashing with his sword one after another. Alakazam was hit directly from the ground to the air, and then hit back from the air to the ground. At the moment of landing, Alakazam also lost consciousness. At the same time as Alakazam lost consciousness, the space around the Green Onion Soldier was distorted, and a beam of energy was shot out. At this time, the Green Onion Soldier was still in the process of retracting his moves, and there was no way to dodge. The Green Onion Soldier simply gritted his teeth and used the Purgatory Ghost Slash again, forcibly withstanding the attack of the beam of light. The price was that the Green Onion Soldier's power was almost exhausted, and what he got was a duck that had not lost its combat effectiveness. The mental power that was forcibly inserted into the brain was suddenly broken, and Xiaomeo's body not only shook twice, but also had a momentary blank in his mind. Fortunately, the battle ended quickly enough, so Xiaomeo recovered immediately. Sure enough, the effect of cramming at the last minute is not so good. Thank you for your hard work, Alakazam. Xiaomeo said and took back Alakazam. Kang Yubbing, you should come back and rest as well. Wutong also took Kang Yubbing back. After all, he had used a substitute twice, and finally forced to use Purgatory Demon Slash twice in a row. Kang Yubbing was almost unconscious, but he was almost as good as losing his combat ability. Chapter 443. The first round of the second half of the finals ended, and Wutong was now in a great advantage. After all, he still had 4 Pokémon, while Xiaomeo only had 2 left. Although the advantage was great, Wutong still did not dare to relax his vigilance. After all, with Xiaomeo's desperate state today, he might trigger the hidden ability of his Pokémon to play a wave of explosion. After all, this world is sometimes so idealistic and terrible. Class and tour, go. Wutong threw out the Pokéball and sent out his 4th Pokémon. Arcane, leave it to you. Xiaomeo also threw out the Pokéball and called out his second to last Pokémon. It seems that this time Xiaomeo intends to save the trump card for the last. Buban. Flammerman looked at the opposite Arcanine. Although it was not his old opponent, he was very familiar with it. Awoo. Xiaomeo's Arcanine appeared and roared, and the intimidation feature was activated. Buban. Flammerman stared back without showing any weakness. The intimidation feature in reality is very interesting. It does not reduce the opponent's attack in a fixed way, but has a floating range. The reference is the opponent's fear level. The more successful the intimidation of Arcanine is, the higher the opponent's attack will be reduced. On the contrary, if the opponent is not afraid at all, intimidation will basically have no effect, and it may even have the opposite effect if it encounters a bad temper. For Flammerman, Arcanine is something he has seen more than once or twice. Xiaomeo's Arcanine is nothing special, and it is not much stronger than it, so there is no condition for it to be afraid. Therefore, the intimidation of the Windy Dog had little effect on the platypus, but the character of the platypus was completely that of a good boy, so the attack would not decrease but increase. Windy Dog, howl. Xiaomei also knew that his Windy Dog's intimidation would not have any effect, so he directly let the Windy Dog start to strengthen itself. Awoo. The Windy Dog howled to the sky, and the howl had a wonderful melody, which made people feel excited. Platy, Rock Blockade. Wutong started the attack directly. After all, Platypus was one of the few Pokémon among his Pokémon that did not learn the strengthening buff. Buban. Platypus slapped the ground with its claws, and huge rocks suddenly appeared from the ground and attacked the Windy Dog. Windy Dog, crush the rocks. Xiaomao commanded. Woof. The 4 paws of the wind speed dog lit up, and it jumped and shuttled between the boulders, pounced or kicked, and the boulders were broken by the wind speed dog. The wind speed dog rushed through the rock blockade intact, and rushed to the front of the duck-billed flame beast. Duck-billed flame beast, sonic punch. Wind speed dog, lightning teeth. Wutong and Xiaomeo shouted at the same time. Buban. The duck-billed flame beast punched with a residual image and hit the wind speed dog on the head. However, Xiaomeo's wind speed dog took the route of occupying the field with a meat tank, with a big head, thick neck and strong body, and excellent resistance to blows. In addition, the sonic punch itself has average damage. The wind speed dog directly resisted the sonic punch of the duck-billed flame beast, and with lightning flashing in its mouth, it bit the duck-billed flame beast on the shoulder. Duck-billed flame beast, grab it, burst punch. Wutong continued to command. Strong body to resist beating, right? Then I'll give you something explosive. Bubon. The duck-billed flame beast endured the severe pain in his shoulder, and clamped the thick neck of the wind speed dog. He clenched his other paw into a fist and hit the wind speed dog's head with all his strength. A muffled sound echoed throughout the venue. The wind speed dog couldn't help but let go after being hit by an explosive punch on the head. Double images appeared in his eyes, and confusion gradually occupied his brain. Wind speed dog, make a big fuss. Xiaomao commanded in time. Since there was going to be chaos, let's make a bigger fuss. Awoo. After hearing Xiaomao's command, the wind speed dog untied the restraints directly, turned into a mad dog on the spot, and attacked the duck-billed flame beast without scruples. Duck-billed flame beast, kick it down. Even Wutong had no good way to deal with the mad dog, so he could only let the duck-billed flame beast try to restrict the wind speed dog's actions. Bubon. The duck-billed flame beast protected his head with both arms, trying to protect his vitals. After hearing Wutong's command, the duck-billed flame beast looked for an opportunity. When Arcanine raised its front body to pounce on Platypus, Platypus moved, and with a sweeping kick, Arcanine, who was not bipedal, immediately lost its balance, and fell to the ground with its body tilted. And Arcanine, the solid and sturdy body of the speed dog, hit the ground, causing the ground to vibrate slightly. The wind speed dog that fell to the ground did not stop as expected. The mad dog mode of the wind speed dog fully demonstrated what it means to lie down where you fall. The wind speed dog rolled directly on the ground, and its head was next to the duck-billed flame beast, biting the duck-billed flame beast's leg. You like sweeping kicks, right? Let me show you what sweeping bites are. The wind speed dog bit the duck-billed flame beast and rolled again. The duck-billed flame beast was directly dragged to the ground by the wind speed dog. Seeing that the duck-billed flame beast also fell to the ground, the wind speed dog pressed on it directly, using fangs and claws to continue biting the duck-billed flame beast. Duck-billed flame beast, continuous sonic punches. Wutong frowned and shouted, Bubon. The duck-billed flame beast punched with both fists continuously, and it was a set of punches on the wind speed dog's head. However, the more you resist, the more excited you are. It continued to attack despite the attack of Platypus. It was a life and death fighting style. Xiaomao simply entered the bad mode. After all, the wind speed dog had become a mad dog, and there was no point in commanding now. Platypus, big word explosion. Wutong had no choice but to try to blow up the wind speed dog with an explosion. Bubon. Platypus inserted its two barrel arms into the gap between their two bodies with difficulty and used big word explosion. A strong explosion occurred between the two Pokémon. The wind speed dog was directly blown away, and the platypus that was pressed below was not much better, and it was completely hurt by the explosion. After all, the skills released will not recognize the master, and the damage caused does not distinguish between enemies and friends. Awoo. Wutong thought he could prepare to counterattack, but the howl made Wutong feel bad. The wind speed dog, who was forcibly pulled away, jumped up and crashed into the duck-billed flame beast with a shadow. Fuck, it's so fast. Is this dog really crazy or just pretending to be crazy? Wutong said speechlessly. At this time, there was no point in commanding. The duck-billed flame beast could not dodge, even if it heard the command. The wind speed dog directly hit the duck-billed flame beast, but the wind speed dog did not stop and pushed the duck-billed flame beast directly into the wall at the edge of the stadium. After such a heavy blow, the duck-billed flame beast lost its combat ability as expected, and the mad dog wind speed dog was also not spared. In this battle, the head was attacked countless times, and this collision became the last straw that broke the camel's back. Awoo. The wind speed dog used the last bit of strength to look up to the sky and let out a howl to announce his victory, and then shook his body and fell to the ground. The duck-billed flame beast and the wind speed dog have lost their combat ability at the same time. The referee looked at it and announced directly. Chapter 444. The battle was a mess. Wutong was a little helpless looking at the platypus that had lost its ability to fight. After all, this battle did not bring out the platypus's advantages at all. The platypus's flash power made it have an affinity with fire. After a long period of training, it can freely control fire to a certain extent. It's just that this ability is much less effective against the windy dog. After all, the damage of the same attack will be halved. The windy dog turned on the mad dog mode again, not giving the platypus any chance to pull and consume, and the chaotic battle situation made Wutong unable to take back the platypus. After all, this battle is not a game. You can directly exchange Pokémon by seeing the attributes. If you don't even dare to try it, you just want to gain an advantage. The two sides might as well just exchange Pokémon for fun. Besides, Pokémon also have their own ideas. If they exchange back and forth like this, their Pokémon may become rotten. It can be said that Platypus lost unfairly, but it was not unfair, which made people very entangled. Is it the last one? In this case, Swampert, go. Wutong said and threw the Pokéball. Xiaoxia, who only had the last Pokémon left, did not need to think about it. There was only one choice. My baby, go and win. Xiaoxia threw the Pokéball with a serious expression. Rag. Kami. The trump cards of both sides appeared at the same time. It's the last game, so let's start the carnival. Swampert. Water stream break. Freeze punch. Wutong commanded. Blottus. High five surprise attack. Xiaoxia decisively interrupted. Kami. Blastoise slapped out of thin air, and an energy palm appeared on the top of Swampert's head, and then slapped it down. The water flow that Swampert had just condensed was instantly shattered, and Swampert was also frightened, looking around. Calm down. Continue. Water flow rupture. Freezing punch. Wutong had long guessed that Xiaoxia would slap him at the beginning, but it was not a big problem. After all, it was a bit difficult to make Swampert shrink with this slap. At most, Blastoise took a little advantage. At this time, Wutong decisively activated his superpower again, and his eyes were shining with blue light. This time it was not to command Swampert, but to calm it down. After hearing Wutong's command, and feeling the mental power of his trainer, Swampert immediately calmed down. The water flow was condensed again. TSK, Blastoise, Water Wave. Xiaoxia felt the disgust of superpower again. Kami. Blastoise aimed two barrels and shot out a circular water flow. Because of the ground attribute, Swampert will be completely damaged by water skills. Xiaoxia used Water Wave instead of Water Cannon, mainly because he wanted to try his luck and see if he could trigger the chaotic effect of Water Wave. Rag. Without interference, Swampert's arms quickly wrapped around the water flow, and under the effect of Freeze Punch, the water flow froze and condensed. The ice armor covered Swampert's arms, and with his fists swinging left and right, Swampert directly broke up the water wave of Blastoise. Slam. Wutong commanded. Slam is an excellent displacement skill for Swampert to approach the enemy. The muscles of his legs bulged. Swampert leaned down, burst out with all his strength, and shot out like a cannonball. Blue's turtle, retract into the shell, and rotate at high speed. Xiaoxia commanded hurriedly. Blastoise curled up in the shell, then floated up, and rotated into the sky. Knock it down, Rockfall. Wutong continued to command. Rag. Swampert failed to hit the ground, and directly made a small pit. He picked up a stone, and heard a sound of breaking through the air. The stone hit the spinning Blastoise, and Blastoise stopped spinning, and its body became unstable. It was like a gyroscope hitting the wall, and lost its balance instantly. Its body began to shake irregularly. Blastoise, hold on, use the water cannon to adjust your body. Xiaoxia shouted. Stop it, Surf. Wutong commanded. Rag. Swampert jumped forward, and a wave appeared under his feet. Swampert jumped directly to the top of the wave. At this time, Swampert came to the same height as Blastoise, and pounced forward. Swampert grabbed Blastoise. At this time, Blastoise also released the water cannon according to the order to adjust its body. However, with the burden of Swampert, Blastoise could not continue, no matter how much it adjusted. In the air. Strength, arm hammer, stomp, earthquake. Wutong commanded. This is Swampet's strongest attack, which combines 4 skills. Swampet can only use this ultimate skill once in a battle. At the same time, this is Wutong's full strength at Xiaomeo's request. The premise of using this skill is to protect both arms, otherwise the strength of Swampet's muscles may cause both arms to be scrapped. The ice arm armor formed by the fusion of water stream break and freeze punch can play the role needed. Swampet, who received the command, flipped over the top of Blastoise. Swampet's whole body flashed red, and his muscles suddenly expanded. White light appeared on his arms, and the white light was further compressed onto his fists. Under Xiaomeo's desperate eyes, Swampet's fists suddenly smashed down. Blastoise and Swampet fell to the ground together. At the moment, when the 2 Pokémon fell to the ground, the field shook violently, and a shock wave rushed to the surroundings with Swampet and Blastoise as the center. A cloud of dust dispersed in all directions along with the shock wave. Wutong and Xiaomeo immediately felt a stream of air coming over them, and they stabilized their bodies and protected themselves with their arms. The girlfriends and cheerleaders behind Xiaomeo all had their skirts flying. Fortunately, as a professional quality, they all wore safety pants, otherwise they would have been exposed collectively. After the dust dissipated, a sunken pit appeared in the center of the venue. In the center of the pit was the unconscious Blastoise. At this time, its shell was covered with cracks, and the whole turtle was firmly embedded in the ground. Next to Blastoise was Swampet. The ice armor on its arms had long been broken and dissipated, and its 2 arms also fell limply on both sides of its body. However, looking at its excited appearance, it was obviously far from losing its ability to fight. Blue's turtle has lost its ability to fight. The winner is Wutong. The referee did not wait any longer and immediately announced the result of the game. Chapter 445. After the referee announced the result of the game, Xiaomao felt relieved. The resentment in his heart seemed to be less than he thought. Looking up at the audience, Xiaomao saw his grandfather, Dr. Oak, who was waving at him and seemed to be saying something. Seeing his world-famous grandfather, Xiaomao felt his nose sour and some unknown liquid seemed to be accumulating in his eyes. Just kidding. How could my grandfather Xiaomao be so weak? If that gloomy monster saw it, he would laugh at himself for a year. Unwilling? Of course not. Since you are unwilling, then win it back next time. Xiaomao thought so, and put on that frivolous smile on his face again. After taking back his trump card, Xiaomao turned around and prepared to leave. Now should be the time for the winner to welcome cheers, and he, the loser, only needs to quietly leave the field. Xiaomao. Xiaomao. The moment Xiaomao turned around, the field called for him. Xiaomao stopped the steps he had just taken and looked around in some confusion. The audience is harsh. They often only remember the winner, but at the same time, the audience is also tolerant. They never hesitate to give cheers and applause to the defeated players. Xiaomao may have lost, but his performance in this battle made the audience happy to cheer him. Xiaomao took another step, but this time a certain idea in his heart became firm. Looking at Xiaomao who left, Wutong also took back his giant Swampert. The silver conference is over, but I don't know if Xiaomao's future path will change. After dealing with the audience in the silver stadium, Wutong also left the battlefield. After all, there is still a battle for the 3rd place. After Wutong left the silver stadium and sent his Pokémon for treatment, he returned to the players' dormitory. Although he seemed to have the upper hand in the battle with Xiaomao, Wutong was still under great pressure. After all, it was Xiaomao who had evolved, and Wutong was very tired after using superpowers to command the battle for a long time. Wutong fell into a deep sleep less than half a minute after falling on the bed. After Wutong fell asleep, the dream demon floated out from Wutong's shadow. Seeing Wutong lying on the field in an awkward posture, the dream demon's eyes lit up, turned Wutong over, and then took off his clothes and stuffed him into the quilt. After circling around Wutong, the dream demon thought about it and used hypnosis, and the expression on Wutong's face became peaceful in his sleep. After doing all this, the dream demon nodded with satisfaction and returned to Wutong's shadow. As for other things, some pranks become boring after playing too many times. After the dream demon returned to Wutong's shadow, the peaceful expression on Wutong's face began to change, gradually taking on a bit of abnormality. Obviously, his beautiful dream began to take on a certain color. The dream demon suddenly stretched his head out of Wutong's shadow, looked around vigilantly, and then saw Wutong's strange face. Dream. The dream demon shouted angrily, and the hypnosis was activated again. Wutong's abnormal smile quickly changed, gradually becoming fearful and struggling. Dream. Seeing Wutong's appearance, the dream demon shouted, and went back into Wutong's shadow again. And Wutong's expression gradually returned to normal. After sleeping until the night, Wutong woke up with his spirits restored. He twisted his body subconsciously, and Wutong suddenly felt something was wrong. Wutong lifted the quilt, and found himself naked. Who took off my clothes? Wutong got up with a puzzled look on his face. I felt really refreshed after this sleep, but I always felt like I had a terrible dream. After getting dressed and checking the time, Wutong found that it was already past 7 o'clock. He had slept for 8 or 9 hours. No wonder he was so energetic. After sleeping for so long and not having lunch, Wutong was already starving. After leaving the contestant dormitory, Wutong walked to the place where they usually had a tea party after dinner. In that familiar position, Shinji, Xiaomei, and Xiaoming were already sitting there. Hey, our champion is awake? Xiaoming said teasingly when he saw Wutong. Not awake, but awake from hunger. Why didn't you call me when you went to eat? Wutong said as he sat down next to the table. We called you, but you were sleeping too soundly. We didn't even wake up. I didn't wake up at all. And Xiaomao stopped talking. And the expression on your face is so disgusting that we don't want to touch you. Shinji frowned and said with disgust. Wutong was stunned when he heard what Shinji said and then recalled his dream. Well, it was a sunny and healthy dream with bright colors. Okay, how about you two? Who won? Wutong said helplessly. Hey, guess. Xiaoming said with a smile. Wutong knew when he saw Xiaoming like this. Guess it. Xiaoming was almost grinning from ear to ear. I tell you, the gloomy face had an advantage, but Xiaoming came up with a serial stand-in. Of course, this is not the point. The point is that this gloomy monster was hit by the same move twice. Xiaomao said happily. Obviously, Xiaomao was very happy about Shinji's defeat. Do you think you are good? You haven't even seen Wutong's 6th Pokémon. Shinji glanced at Xiaomao and retorted. After hearing what Shinji said, Xiaomao's smile froze. Damn, this gloomy monster made sense, and he couldn't refute it. Okay, stop for a moment. I'm not targeting anyone. I just want to say that everyone here is a noob. Over. Wutong said with a wave of his hands. X3 hearing what Wutong said, Shinji, Xiaomao and Xiaoming immediately cast a sinister look. Well, I mean I'm too hungry. I want some vegetables and roast chicken. It's a combination of meat and vegetables, nutritious and healthy. Seeing the sinister looks of the three people, Wutong decisively changed his words. This is just because he doesn't want to hurt the relationship between brothers, and it's definitely not because of anything. You four little guys are still as noisy as ever. A mature female voice appeared. The four looked in the direction of the voice, and Kona and Liubo walked towards them. Grandpa Gilliu, Sister Kona. Wutong greeted them after seeing them. Although Shinji and the other two also knew Kona and Liubo, they were not as familiar with them as Wutong, so the three of them also greeted them very politely. You played very well in today's game. Congratulations, Xianatong, for winning your 2nd championship, Gilliu said with a kind smile. Since reuniting with the long-haired pig and untying his knot, Liubo has become more and more kind, looking like the kind old grandfather that can be seen everywhere. Thank you Grandpa Gilliu. I also tried my best to defeat Xiaomao. Wutong scratched his head and said. TSK, you call trying your best only 5 Pokémon, right? Xiaoming said unhappily when he saw Wutong like this. Yes, and there were more than one Pokémon left with fighting power in the end. Shinji also said. Xiaomao on the side covered his chest. Why? Everyone was talking about Wutong, but he felt so hurt. Excessive modesty is a manifestation of arrogance. Victory is victory. Since you have won the championship, I can give you this gift. Liubo said, and took out a Pokeball with a black background and gold patterns. Grandpa Gilliu, what is this? Wutong took the luxury ball and asked knowingly. This is a gift for you. After all, you did me a big favor and won the championship of the Silver Conference. As a grandfather, it is natural to give you a gift. Open it and take a look. You will like it. Liubo replied. Shinji and the other two on the side also looked at the luxury ball in Wutong's hand curiously. Since it was a Pokémon given by Liubo, even if it was not a rare guy, it must have extraordinary potential. In addition, Liubo could not be unaware of Wutong's strange physique, so the Pokémon in this luxury ball must be a shining little guy. Come out. Wutong did not hesitate and pressed the button on the luxury ball to release the Pokémon inside. After a burst of white light, a Pokémon with snow-white fur that looked like a fox and a dog appeared in front of several people. What is this? Eevee. Wutong said. The Pokémon in front of him was Shiny Eevee, and it was different from the ordinary Shiny Eevee. Although the ordinary Shiny Eevee was also white, it was a beige and a little grey. The fur of the Eevee in front of him was really snow white. Even the fluff on the chest and the tip of the tail were snow white, and there was no color on the whole body. The Eevee, who had just come out, didn't seem to understand the situation yet, and looked around curiously with a pair of eyes. Seeing Eevee's cute appearance, Wutong couldn't help but stretch out his hand and rubbed Eevee's head. Feeling Wutong's touch, Eevee cooperated very well and rubbed back, and then silly he lay down on the ground in a naive way, allowing Wutong to stroke him better. This Eevee's personality is too good, isn't it? Xiaoming said enviously. Who doesn't want a well-behaved and obedient little fox that can be stroked? Wutong stroked Eevee, but his expression became puzzled, not because of Eevee's friendly personality, but because Eevee's touch was strange. This Eevee's fur was very smooth, and its body was soft and easy to stroke, but the problem was that this Eevee's whole body was very cold. The touch was like a mink coat that had been thrown in the snow and rolled many times in winter, soft but cold. Grandpa Gilliu, this Eevee. Wutong looked at him and said. This Eevee is indeed a bit special. Uncle Liu didn't seem to have the habit of being a riddler. He didn't let Wutong explore it himself, but planned to answer it directly. I think you all know the special features of Pokémon like Eevee, right? Uncle Liu asked back first. Xiaoming covered his chest. No, he didn't. He also wanted an Eevee that he could pet. Normally, Eevee would have many ways to evolve, but this Eevee is very strange. It has no reaction to the 3 evolution stones of water, fire, and thunder. Sunlight and moonlight have no attraction to it, and it even rejects the fire stone a little bit. Liubo said. This Eevee also likes items full of ice energy, or likes to live in a cold environment, right? Wutong asked, feeling the cold touch in his hand. That's right, this Eevee likes ice very much. Xianatong, you should also know that in the Sinnoh region, Eevee has an evolution of Ice Eevee, but the strange thing is that someone tried to evolve it with the Ice Stone. Although it likes it very much, it has no reaction to the evolution. However, after absorbing the Ice Stone, it has learned several ice skills. Liubo continued. After hearing Liubo's words, Wutong couldn't help but frowned. He obviously likes ice energy, but has no reaction to the ice stone. Although in the Pearl Diamond version, Glaceon can only evolve in special places, but after the Sword and Shield version, Glaceon can already evolve through the ice stone. The update of the version is of course impossible to appear in reality, so here Eevee can evolve with the ice stone from the beginning. Even evolving into Glaceon through the ice stone is the mainstream. That special evolution location must be known by someone, but trainers with Eevee should rarely go there specifically to evolve Glaceon. As expected, the evolution direction of this Eevee in front of him has been determined. According to Liubo's description and its physical condition, the flash power of this Eevee must be related to the ice system. I know, Grandpa Liu, I will find a way to solve this problem. Wutong picked up Eevee and said. Eevee did not resist Wutong's actions at all, but adjusted his posture to make himself lie more comfortably in Wutong's arms. This Eevee is a little too friendly, which is not good. It will be easily abducted by bad guys. It seems that ideological education must be strengthened in the future. Wutong looked at the Eevee in his arms and thought, oh, by the way, this little guy has another special feature, that is, all of its attacks will have a slight freezing effect. Liu said again. Okay, I will train this little guy well. Eevee, I will give you more advice in the future, Wutong said to the Eevee in his arms. Booey Eevee responded softly, and it seemed that it was also very satisfied with its new trainer. Okay, since the gifts are collected, let's change the topic. What are your plans after the award ceremony tomorrow? Kona asked. Wutong and the others looked at each other. I will definitely continue to travel. I want to dominate all the conferences, Wutong said as a matter of course. I should rest for a few days before going to the home region. I don't want to stop traveling yet. Xiaoming's answer was similar to Wutong. I'm far from strong enough. I will achieve better results in the next home regional conference than this time, Shinji said lightly. After the three of them finished speaking, they all looked at Xiaoming. Why are you all looking at me? You can't bear to leave me, right? I have decided to become a Pokémon researcher who is better than Grandpa, Xiaoming said with his hands spread out. Although they knew Xiaoming's choice a long time ago, after hearing Xiaoming say it himself, Wutong and the other two were still a little dazed. It seems that their 4-member team will be difficult to get together for a long time in the future. But I will continue to travel. After all, Grandpa won the championship before he started to study Pokémon. Since I want to surpass Grandpa, how can I not win a championship? And I can see more Pokémon during the trip, and maybe I can find a few of Grandpa's. I have never seen a Pokémon before, Xiaoming suddenly said again. TSK, this playboy, Shinji said unhappily, but the corners of his mouth rose a little bit. Hey, it's really annoying to talk so loudly and breathe so hard, Xiaoming also said speechlessly. Don't dream, you will be the champion in the future. If you want the championship, wait for the next quartz conference. You will have a chance if I don't participate in that conference, Wutong said. The 4 people immediately started to quarrel, from the ownership of the championship to the choice of Pokémon, and finally jumped to when to set off for the home region. It seems that the 4 people can't wait to start a new journey. Kona on the side saw the state of the 4 people and his forehead was blue. I say, have you guys forgotten something? Kona asked with gritted teeth. Hearing Kona's gloomy voice, Wutong and the other 4 trembled and suddenly remembered something. It seems that the new journey cannot start for the time being. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 446. The next day's award ceremony was as boring as the Quartz Conference, and Wutong really won his second championship trophy. There was nothing new, and the old man with a big beard, President Damaranshi, still presented the award. After listening to the president's speech and perfunctorily dealing with various reporters, Wutong and the other 4 finally ended their torture. Back to the contestants' dormitory, Wutong casually threw the championship trophy into his backpack. You ask why he didn't put it at home? Just kidding. How can he put it at home? To put it in the cup at any time. Wutong planned to collect all 7 trophies to summon the Arceus Cup. Cough. No, it was to summon Arceus. After the award ceremony, Wutong and the other 4 said goodbye to their relatives and friends. Mainly Wutong and Liu, Gangti and others, Xiaoming and Professor Oak, Xiaoxi and others. The old Pokeball that represents the bond between Xiaoming and Xiaoxi was split into 2 again, and Xiaoming and Xiaoxi each took half. This time, the 2 were far less angry than the first time, and Xiaoming and Xiaoxi also truly upgraded from opponents to rivals. Xiaoming told Xiaoxi about his plan without hiding it, after learning that there were other regional conferences and more Pokémon. Xiaoxi immediately said excitedly that he would continue traveling, and the 2 agreed to meet at the KIR conference later. Xiaogang and Xiaoxia also said goodbye to the others. Looking at the figures of Xiaogang and Xiaoxia leaving, Wutong knew that they would meet again soon. After declining the invitation to the celebration banquet in the evening, Wutong and the other 4 found Kona. Are you 4 really not going to attend the celebration banquet in the evening? Although the Pokémon Inspector is very short of manpower now, the tasks that need you to do are not so long that you can't wait for even one night, Kona said as he looked at the 4 little guys in front of him. No, it's better to complete the promised things as soon as possible, Wutong said. And if nothing unexpected happens, the reward given by Kona will definitely be related to the ice system, such as the Kona original ice that Wutong had never had the chance to use before. Now he has been hugged and licked by Eevee, and after Wutong's nagging all night, the little guy Eevee has begun to know to be vigilant against strangers. Now that he has the little guy Eevee, Wutong also has a great demand for ice resources, so he is looking forward to Kona's reward. As for Shinji and the others, Shinji himself has Magura, and he must be very interested in Kona's reward. Xiaomei and Xiaoming are not fanatics of individual attributes. In order to expand the attribute coverage of the team, they will sooner or later conquer ice Pokémon. So it's not bad to prepare some ice materials in advance. And it's more interesting to experience the life of Pokémon Inspector than that boring celebration banquet. So Shinji and the other 3 also agreed with Wutong's idea and wanted to start the road of working as Pokémon Inspector as soon as possible. Okay, since you all have no objection, let's get ready to go. Each of you will get one of these 4 uniforms and certificates. I'll tell you what to do after you change. Kona pointed to the neatly folded uniforms on the table next to him and said. The 4 Wutongs took their clothes obediently and found a place to change. After a while, the 4 returned to Kona. The uniform of the Pokémon Prosecutor is very simple, a whole set of black clothes, without too much decoration, which looks capable and serious. As for the certificate, it is a pentagonal folding certificate with a black leather surface, which is different from the ordinary Pokémon Inspector certificate. The front of the ordinary Pokémon Prosecutor certificate has a gold-plated pattern similar to the Pokeball, and the 2 letters PA. The certificates of the 4 Wutongs have silver patterns and letters on them. You are temporary workers after all, so there will be differences in your certificates, but don't worry, during your work, this temporary certificate has the same effect as the real Pokémon Inspector certificate. Kona explained. Wutong and the other 4 nodded to show that they understood. Okay, let's talk about your mission. Recently, it's time to inspect the Pokémon gyms in the Kanto region. I think you who have traveled in the Kanto region should know the current situation of the gyms in the Kanto region. I need you to confirm it again and ask them to correct the gym problems. If the gym problems are serious and do not meet the standards, you have the right to prohibit the issuance of gym badges or even close them. Kona said seriously. That is to say, we can do something to those who are completely unqualified. Shinji asked proactively. Yes, but you must enforce the law impartially, and you cannot act arbitrarily because of your own subjective ideas. I hope you will not let me down. Kona replied. I know, King Kona. Shinji responded calmly, but the sneer on his face made Kona a little confused. Seeing Shinji's black hair coming out, Wutong sighed helplessly. It seems that Hualan Gym and Nabi Gym will suffer. Shinji will definitely not bend the law for personal gain, but at the same time he will definitely not have any sympathy and will definitely become a face-to-face judge. Oh, by the way, I suggest that you should investigate secretly first. After all, some gyms may also falsify in order to welcome the inspection, so remember to bring these windbreakers and hats. Kona pointed to the windbreakers and hats that were newly placed on the table and said, X for looking at the extra long windbreaker and the round hat that looked like a spy's on the table. Wutong was really confused. Wouldn't wearing this really attract more attention? The Pokémon Inspector's habit of hiding his identity is comparable to the Pokémon Investigator imitating Adu wearing a cape. Is this also a professional feature? After assigning the task, Kona left. She also had work to do. Wutong and the other 4 discussed and decided to act together. As for the order of gym inspections, they would go from the Red Lotus Gym to the Tokiwa Gym. In the reverse order of the trip, it would be a trip of memories. The 4 people who decided on the route were ready to set off immediately, but before that, Wutong had to go to King's Cliff to pick up his 3 little guys. And Zybo, who was the first target, was still studying his riddle in his gym at this time, but for some reason, he always felt as if he was being stared at by something. Chapter 447. The weather was very hot, but the weather was very hot. The 4 Wutongs rushed to the Red Lotus Island, where the Red Lotus gym was located in the evening. The 4 of them were wearing wide windbreakers, and under the windbreakers were the uniforms of the Pokémon inspectors. But they were not like other inspectors, who covered themselves tightly with wide hats and masks like suspicious people. So the appearance of the 4 in Red Lotus Town did not attract too much attention. It was already late, and the gym should have been closed at this time, so the 4 Wutongs simply found a place to rest. Wutong thought about it, and took the 3 of them to the hot spring, where he met Adu before. This should be the hot spring homestay run by Xiaobo. Wutong is not afraid of exposing his purpose. Xiaobo knows him anyway, so it would be better to come directly. And with Xiaobo's personality, it is impossible for him to change his attitude, because of the different identities of Wutong and others. After finding the familiar pool, Wutong and the other 4 soaked in the hot spring comfortably. Beside Wutong, Melee, Yair and Eevee also soaked in the hot spring, and although the little guy Ujiris didn't like water, he wanted to stay with Wutong. So he simply lay down behind Wutong, and acted as a backrest. Beside Wutong, the young Jiris was the main player. Wutong was also helpless about the situation, that 4 Pokémon were prepared, before arriving in the home region. There was no way, this was the choice of fate. And what's more interesting, is that Eevee is also a girl, that is to say, 3 of the 4 little guys who are now determined to be trained as the main force in the home region are female. It's completely yin dominated and yang deficient. In addition, these 4 little guys have completely different personalities. Wutong always feels that the start of his trip to the home region will be very tiring. Shinji and the other 2 were also happy to watch the show, all half paralyzed in the hot spring. Of course, the 4 were not just enjoying themselves, but were also thinking about how to examine the Red Lotus Gym. The Red Lotus Gym should have no problem in terms of strength. After all, Xiaobo's strength is still very strong. Wutong said first. What about the reception of challenges? The Red Lotus Gym is very difficult to find. Xiaoming said. This is indeed a problem. Although the gym owner has the right to select the trainers who challenge the gym to a certain extent, it must not be in that strange way. Shinji turned into an iron-faced judge and said, the number of Xiaobo's Pokémon should also be a problem. After all, the gym owner should reasonably adjust the gym difficulty according to the strength of the challenger, but Xiaobo should always use those fixed Pokémon to fight, right? Xiaomei also raised a question. The problem raised by Shinji and Xiaomei is not just a problem of the Red Lotus Gym. It should be said that this situation exists in the entire Kanto region. You know, not all trainers start from Pallet Town. It can even be said that only a very small number of trainers start from Pallet Town. It must be said that, although the Kanto region is the big brother among the regions, both the management system and the professional quality of the gym owners are much weaker than other regions. Although the gym owners in other regions are also very individual, at least they will not be so willful when facing challenges. On the other hand, in the Kanto region, there are trainers who turn trainers into dolls, some who seriously injure the challengers' Pokémon, and some who refuse the challenge of trainers for various reasons. Some trainers can't even find the gym. No wonder the gym inspections in the Kanto region are more frequent than in other regions. In that case, let's do it this way. Wutong said to the other 3. Early the next morning, Shinji and the other 2 left the hot spring homestay first. After Shinji and the other 2 left, a trainer wearing a straw hat and a red buttoned vest walked out of the hot spring hotel with a step that was not to be recognized. The straw hat trainer kept asking in Hanglian town where the Hanglian gym was. This naturally attracted Xiaobo's attention. Habitually, Xiaobo disguised himself again and found the straw hat trainer in a coincidence way. Then he began to chat with the straw hat trainer in his unique, riddleman chattering method, and at the same time deliberately made the straw hat trainer a money grubber. However, the straw hat trainer dressed as Wutong looked like I don't guess. Finding the gym depends on fate. Shinji and the other 2 hid in the dark, wanting to see who would give up first. It was not until the evening that the old man Xiaobo gave up first, but even so he did not tell Wutong the exact location of the gym. He still stubbornly gave the clue of where it was. After getting this clue, Wutong was too lazy to pretend, took off his straw hat, and said to Xiaobo, Xiaobo, your gym is still as hard to find as ever. Huh. Xiaobo looked at the guy who took off his straw hat in front of him, and the 3 suspicious people in large windbreakers who suddenly appeared behind him. Xiaobo suddenly felt like he was being cheated. Chapter 448. The 2 of them were caught in a trap. In the Red Lotus gym, Xiaobo, who had taken off his disguise, looked helplessly at the 4 people opposite. Wutong had also returned to his normal clothes at this time, looking at Xiaobo with a smirk on his face. Riddler, right? You didn't get a chance to take revenge last time, but I caught you this time. Stinky boy, do you know that what you are doing is called phishing enforcement? Xiaobo said unhappily when he saw Wutong's smile. How could it be, Master Xiaobo? We are doing this with a testing mentality, and if there is no fish, how can there be phishing enforcement? Wutong immediately retorted. Seeing Wutong's attitude, Shinji and the other 2 looked at each other, and then decisively held him down, and threw him behind. Sorry, Master Xiaobo, but your way of finding the gym is too complicated. Xiaobo said. So we reasonably suspect that you deliberately hid the exact address of the gym in order to avoid challenges. Shinji followed. If there is no reasonable reason, we have the right to ask you to make rectifications. Xiaoming concluded. Hearing the 3 fatal consecutive attacks by Shinji and the other 2, Xiaobo's eyes became erratic. There was no way he was caught slacking off, and it was embarrassing for sure. Seeing Xiaobo's posture, Shinji narrowed his eyes slightly. Sure enough, this guy was slacking off every day. Master Xiaobo, it seems that your Hanglian gym really needs to be closed for rectification. Shinji said with a serious face. Xiaobo looked at Shinji in disbelief, and then looked at Wutong behind Shinji for help. Facing Xiaobo's eyes for help, Wutong could only spread his hands to show that he could not help. How could it be? No way. My riddle. Under Xiaobo's unbelievable eyes, Shinji took out the seal and directly sealed Xiaobo's Red Lotus gym. However, from Xiaobo's words, it can be seen that it is not unfair for the Red Lotus gym to be sealed. The gym is going to be closed for rectification, and this guy is still thinking about his riddle. After staying in Red Lotus Island for 2 days, Wutong and the other 4 began to move towards the next gym. As for Xiaobo's Red Lotus gym, it was rectified in these 2 days. There are clear instructions at the entrance of the gym, but there are a few more levels on the way to enter the gym to challenge. These are all questions and answers about Pokémon related knowledge. Only if you answer them correctly can you enter the gym to challenge. It barely satisfied Xiaobo's riddle heart, but from Xiaobo's resentful eyes, it can be seen that he is completely dissatisfied with this result. However, there is no use being dissatisfied. Xiaobo, the old man, should be honest for a while. The next stop, Wutong and the other 4 came to the Light Red Gym in Light Red City. Here, Wutong and the other 4 did not find Aju. Only Aju's sister Aya stayed to temporarily manage the Crimson Gym. Aya said that Aju went to the Johto region to participate in some assessment. Wutong understood that the Johto region was ready to determine its own 4 Heavenly Kings. I just don't know what the 4 Heavenly Kings in the Kanto region should do in this case. After all, his master Shiba will go to the Johto region to serve as the Heavenly King, and Adu will be promoted to the position of champion, and he will be the double regional champion of the Kanto region and the Johto region. In this way, the only Heavenly Kings in the Kanto region are Kikuko and Kona. Do we have to wait for the next Heavenly King challenge? I don't know if I can catch up. Although Aju is not here, Aya, the acting gym leader, has perfectly passed the inspection of Wutong and the other 4. After all, the biggest problem of the Crimson Gym is the dangerous trap. These traps have also been cancelled for various reasons, and now only the transparent wall maze is left. The wall maze is obviously not a violation of the rules, so Shinji, the iron-faced judge, has no room to play. The inspection at the Crimson Gym went smoothly, and Wutong and the other 4 went straight to the next gym without stopping. In Golden City, at the entrance of the Golden Gym, Wutong looked at the gym in front of him, and felt as if he had forgotten something. Of course, it was not dangerous. After all, Nancy should not be the eccentric girl who would turn people into dolls at any time. But what exactly is the reason for this uneasy feeling? Wutong walked into the gym with doubts, and the guy who used superpowers to bend the spoon to greet Wutong and the other 4 was the guy who used superpowers to bend the spoon. Seeing the Pokémon Inspector certificates shown by Wutong and the other four, were brought to Nancy. In fact, like Golden City, this kind of gym that had a big problem at the beginning has been fixed, so Wutong and the other four came just for the sake of going through the motions. Just when Shinji and the others thought that the inspection of Golden City should end soon like that of Light Red City, Nancy spoke. "It's you. The underwear thief who stole all my underwear," Nancy said immediately after seeing Wutong. A Jenga floated out from behind Nancy. It seemed that it was the evolution of the Haunter that changed Nancy's personality. In addition to Jenga, there was also an Alakazam on the other side of Nancy, holding a spoon. Alakazam stared at Wutong, as if preventing him from escaping. Wutong suddenly remembered what he had forgotten. "That old pervert misled me." X3 hearing Nancy's words, Shinji and the other two all cast questioning eyes at Wutong. "What's going on? Have you done this before?" Wutong suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. What should he do? Can he leave the Golden Gym alive today? "Do you know that I haven't worn any underwear for a week because you stole all my underwear?" Nazi said coldly to Wutong. That cold expression made Wutong feel as if he saw the former Nazi. "Well, there must be some misunderstanding. How could I do such a thing? I just came to challenge the gym once and then left. I didn't have time to commit a crime at all," Wutong said. "PFFT, just kidding. Why are you so nervous?" "But I don't think I said that my underwear was lost on the day you came to challenge the gym," Nazi said with a chuckle, then narrowed her eyes and stared at Wutong. Wutong's body was sweating more. Oh no, he seemed to have exposed something. "Well, let's talk about business. We are now patrolling the gym, so please cooperate with us, Master Nazi," Wutong said with a serious face. TSK, there is definitely something wrong," Xiaoming said, stroking his chin. "Yes, this way of changing the subject is so blunt, it's too obvious." Xiaomao shook his head and said, "This idiot," Shinji said coldly. "Oh, is that so? Then Mr. Underwear Thief, how are you going to monitor my Golden Gym?" Nancy looked at Wutong with interest and said, "Nancy's personality has indeed changed a lot. At least she used to not talk to others in such a teasing tone. First, check the equipment of the Golden Gym, and then let's see how the Golden Gym welcomes challengers. After all, the Golden Gym seems to have a history of imprisoning challengers," Wutong said. "Don't bother so much. As a Pokémon Inspector, the strength of the gym owner also needs to be tested. In this case, you can have a Pokémon battle with me. I haven't forgotten the failure at the beginning," Nancy said simply. "We all recognize the strength of Gym Leader Nancy, so there's no need to test it," Wutong said tentatively. "Oh, really? Mr. Underwear Thief?" Nancy said to Wutong with a smile. "Is this a threat?" "This is definitely a threat. Wutong won't accept it, will he?" Shinji and the other two said, completely in the mode of watching the show. "But then again, I'm also curious about Gym Leader Nancy's strength, so how about having a pleasant Pokémon battle now?" Wutong said. "This guy is scared." X3 Shinji and the other two said at the same time. Wutong chose to ignore the complaints of his three good brothers. "Just kidding. Do you know who Nancy is? A humanoid Pokémon. Don't think that her superpowers have become weaker because her personality has improved. Wutong can clearly feel that Nancy's superpowers have expanded to overflow. Although it was the old pervert who caused the trouble, he was half of the old pervert's trainer anyway, and this matter had to be resolved after all. Since Nancy is willing to solve the problem by fighting with Pokémon, that would be great. Chapter 449. The battle was over, but the battle was over. Seeing Wutong's appearance, Nazi smiled and activated her superpower. Everyone present was directly moved to the battlefield of the Golden Gym. However, the difference was that Shinji and the other two stood at the edge of the battlefield, which was the position for watching the battle. Wutong and Nazi stood in the center of the battlefield, as if they were not fighting their Pokémon, but themselves. "Then let's start," Nazi said, and her superpower was activated again. Wutong immediately felt a strong pressure. At this moment, Wutong was sure that Nazi wanted to fight with him. However, although Wutong could use superpowers, he was more focused on amplifying his Pokémon. At most, he could barely control the movement of smaller objects and had no attack ability at all. Facing Nancy's attack, Wutong could only use his superpowers to try to resist her. Feeling the invisible squeeze around him, Wutong's mental power began to be greatly consumed. I was right. You have superpowers now, but they are too weak, Nancy said. Dream. The dream demon rushed out of Wutong's shadow at this time, his eyes flashing, and he directly confronted Nancy, who, Nancy's alakazam obviously couldn't bear to see his trainer suffer, so he also joined the battlefield. With the help of the dream demon, Wutong's pressure was reduced sharply. Seeing Nancy's relaxed look, Wutong knew that Nancy must not have used her full strength, and it was more of a test to confirm it. Maybe she also wanted to take the opportunity to beat him up. I think Nancy has always remembered the fact that she lost to me. Is this the battle of superpowers? Xiaoming couldn't help but say. I always thought that Wutong's superpowers were very strong, but now I see that Nancy is simply a monster. Xiaoming shook his head and said. Shinji stared at Nancy in silence. He began to think about how to fight if he met such an unreasonable superpower. Although Wutong's superpowers were troublesome to fight, they were nothing compared to Nancy. Nancy was really like a humanoid Pokémon. The stalemate lasted for a while, mainly because Nancy was letting him win, and Nancy seemed to think that it was enough and directly broke out her superpowers to break up the joint defense of Wutong and Dream Demon. Okay, even if I lose, you can come to me if you have time. After all, your use of superpowers is too weak. Nancy looked at Wutong and said. Ah. Wutong was stunned. Don't fight anymore? Dream. Meng. Dream Demon was also very dissatisfied. What's going on? Do you want to run away after bullying my trainer? P.S. Do you think there will be a battle? There won't be one. Binkui is almost sick of writing about the battle. It is estimated that there will be no serious battle for a while. What's wrong? Underwear thief. Aren't you not only a thief, but also a pervert? Do you like to experience pain? Asked Nancy. No need. Nancy is very strong and fully qualified to be the gym leader, so please let us check the other conditions of the gym. Also, I'm really not an underwear thief. I dare to swear to Arceus. Wutong said. Arceus? What is that? Forget it. I will let someone take you to check the gym. Nancy waved her hand and disappeared. Seeing Nancy leave, Wutong breathed a sigh of relief. The pressure of facing Nancy was much greater than he imagined. Wutong couldn't help but look at the pattern on the palm of his hand. He didn't know when these 4 strange unknown totems would wake up. Under the leadership of the uncle playing with the spoon, Wutong and the other 4 quickly finished monitoring the golden gym. It must be said that after returning to normal, Nancy is very good, and she manages the gym in an orderly manner. Even Shinji, who has transformed into an iron-faced judge, can't find any faults. After leaving the golden gym, Wutong and the other 4 began to move towards the Jade Rainbow gym. However, although they had only inspected 3 gyms, Wutong felt exhausted physically and mentally. Wutong only hoped that Legia from the Jade Rainbow gym would not have any problems. What? Why don't you let me go in and challenge the gym? At the entrance of the Jade Rainbow gym, a burly man shouted in dissatisfaction. Those who don't understand the meaning of perfume are not qualified to enter the Jade Rainbow gym. A group of girls blocked the door of the Jade Rainbow gym and said to the burly man, "What? I'm here to challenge the gym, not to smell the perfume. And I really think those perfumes smell the same." The strong man argued. No means no. The blue short-haired girl in the lead took out a huge seal from somewhere and stamped it on the strong man's face. The strong man was caught off guard and fell outside. On the face, stamped with the seal, 2 red straight lines overlapped to form a cross. Asshole. Strange. Tear down this door for me. The strong man got up from the ground and shouted angrily. A muscular man with 4 hands appeared and punched the glass door of Yuhang Gym. The girls behind the door obviously didn't expect the strong man to break the door violently, and for a moment they even forgot to dodge. Swampert. A voice appeared at this time. A flash of white light, and a pink Swampert appeared in front of Strange. Grasping Strange's fist, Swampert, with bulging muscles all over his body, threw Strange out directly. What? Strange. The sturdy man shouted in shock. You actually want to break into the Yuhang Gym? Go find Miss Junsha and arrest this guy. The girl with short blue hair also reacted and said, no need, just leave this matter to us. The girls and sturdy man in the Yuhan gym all looked in the direction of the sound. 4 people wearing large windbreakers came over. Damn, who are you? The sturdy man asked. Since you asked sincerely. Wutong's words had not been finished yet, and a fist had already fallen. Don't waste time talking nonsense. Shinji's cold voice appeared. We are PIA, Pokémon inspectors, and we are here to inspect the gym. Xiaomao showed his ID and said, hey, you should have been the one who was right, but you actually took the initiative and tried to break into the gym. Now, you have become unreasonable, even if you are right. Remember to be calm before doing things next time. Xiaoming walked up to the sturdy man and said helplessly, Pokémon inspector? Wutong and the other 4 gave the sturdy man a series of ideological education. The sturdy man wanted to resist, but after looking at the 4 Pokémon that surrounded him, Swampert, Squirtle, Blastoise, and Sandslash, he honestly accepted the criticism. After admitting his mistakes and apologizing to the girls in the Yuhan gym, the sturdy man wanted to leave in disgrace. HMPH, guys like you should leave quickly. Yuhan gym doesn't welcome you. The leading blue short-haired girl said proudly. Damn it. The sturdy man was really angry, but dared not speak. He could only suppress his anger and wanted to leave here as soon as possible. Wait a minute, your problem is solved, and there are other problems. Wutong stopped the sturdy man and said, huh. The sturdy man looked aggrieved. He accepted the criticism and education and apologized. Why is it not over yet? Then next, I hope you can explain the problem of Yuhan gym. Wutong said as he looked at the proud girls. Chapter 450. The 2 of them were so angry that they had to face each other. Hearing what Wutong said, the girls in the Yuhan gym were all stunned. I don't understand what you are talking about. It is obviously this guy who wants to break into the Yuhan gym and instruct the Pokémon to attack us. The blue short-haired girl who led the group said. Ha, he really has no self-awareness at all. Wutong said helplessly, covering his face. We saw the whole process, but you did something before this reckless guy attacked. Xiaoming followed. According to the Pokémon League, the gym management regulations, the gym cannot refuse the challenge if the trainer does not violate the league laws. Shinji said coldly. Although most gyms still rely on their own methods to select challengers, it is really unacceptable to reject challengers because they do not understand perfume. Xiaomai also shook his head and said. After hearing what Wutong and the other 4 said, the strong man on the side said, yes, he came to challenge the gym, not to learn perfume. And the most important point is that, even if the challenger is rejected, it should be selected by the gym owner. I don't know who gave you the right to directly block the challenger from entering the gym. If there is no reasonable explanation, we can determine that there is a problem with Yuhan gym, and it needs to be closed for rectification. Wutong looked at them indifferently and said. Wutong was very puzzled about their behavior. Why did Ligia let them do whatever they wanted? Or in other words, this was also tacitly approved by Ligia. Although the alliance has a high tolerance for gym owners, it does not mean that as a gym owner, you can do whatever you want. You must have rights and obligations at the same time. Speaking of which, Ligia's real character seems to be much worse than the appearance of a lady from a noble family. Actually, Binkui thinks that the personality shown in the animation is also quite strange. Wutong suddenly felt that these guys' behavior might really be tacitly approved by Ligia, so that she could leave time to do what she wanted. What are you talking about? We obviously did nothing wrong. What happened? Just when several girls wanted to argue, Ligia came out and asked. Hey, Ligia, long time no see. Wutong greeted Ligia after seeing her. Who are you? Ligia said and looked at Wutong's shadow. Dream. The dream demon flew out of Wutong's shadow and circled Ligia twice. It's you. Have you evolved? It's been a long time since we last met. Ligia was very happy when she saw the dream demon. One person and one Pokémon ran directly to the corner and started to communicate. Wutong looked at the actions of Ligia and the dream demon, and the corners of his eyes began to twitch, forgetting that these 2 guys had the same hobby. It seems that your Pokémon is more popular than you. Xiaoming patted Wutong on the shoulder and said. Ahem, sorry, so what happened? Legia also realized that the timing was wrong in time and came back to say. Several girls immediately surrounded Legia and chattered. Fortunately, they were still a little smart and did not deliberately distort the facts. They just told the story again. Of course, it is also possible that they really didn't think they had any problems. So that's the case. I'm really sorry. It seems that I neglected it. Yuhang Jim will correct it as soon as possible. Legia said to Wutong and others after listening. Legia was unexpectedly easy to talk to, and Wutong and others didn't say anything more. They gave Legia time to correct it and said that they would come to check later, and Wutong and the other four left. Ms. Legia, why? Looking at the blue short-haired girl leading the four people who left, she asked puzzledly. Yuhang Jim was too arbitrary before. PIA's inspections are not limited to our Yuhang Gym. Many gyms have been closed down because of problems. Let's separate the gym and the perfume business in the future. Legia replied calmly. It seems that the alliance is also going to be ruthless to carry out a cleanup, Legia thought to herself as she watched the four people leave. After leaving Yuhang City, Wutong and the other four went to Vermilion City. As expected, many trainers Pokémon were still sent to the Pokémon Center for treatment. Mazishi was as serious as ever during the battle. Of course, for people with Mazishi's personality, fighting is the best solution. The four Wutongs directly fought with Mazishi and forced him to agree to it. We'll pay attention to the intensity of the battle. A refreshing battle relieved the pressure of the four Wutong people from negotiating with these problematic gym leaders during this period. As for whether Mazishi would feel pressure, it is unknown. After the battle with Mazishi, it was already late, and the Wutong people simply stayed overnight at the Kuai gym. Mazishi must have tested Wutong, who had not seen him for a long time, and Shinji and the other two also got enough exercise. Lying in bed at night, the four people who were sore all over all suspected that Mazishi was taking the opportunity to retaliate, but unfortunately, they had no evidence. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.